T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus 40 seconds. T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hello, and welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Man, we have some of the most talented and beautiful Black women on this panel with me on today. We're missing one, but she's definitely running through traffic, probably doing 80 and 60, forget a ticket type thing, to get here so that she can be on this panel with us. You guys know who I am. My name is Drian Santana. I am the EIC of WWT. Not to bite off my fave a little bit, but that's who I am. Right next to me, on this side is my tag team partner, one half of the Salt Shakers, the most dominating tag team in women's wrestling talk history. Next over is Stephanie Hardy, my co-host, my SmackDown partner, and Nikki is my Raw partner. I'm everywhere, whatever. We have Mika, of course, Mika Billy, the indie prima donna herself is here with us. And of course, and last but not least, our boss, our Vincent Kennedy McMahon, TK Trinidad, the Canadian assassin. How is everyone doing on this Monday, the last day of Black History Month? However, our history never ends.
You better so good.
I know that's right. That was a good intro.
It was a good intro.
It was.
Yeah, look at you. You doing it. Why am I here? I should be eating right now, just watching.
No, we're not gonna do that.
No, TK, we need you here because we've the writers have done an amazing job this month.
Jax.
For Black History Month, highlighting 28 days of highlighting Black women wrestlers. So, of course, it wouldn't be without you. We didn't be able to put this together. So we do appreciate you for giving us the opportunity to just highlight as many women as we could. We couldn't get to everybody because, of course, if they gave us more days, then maybe we could add more people. But like I said, our history doesn't end. And on today, we're going to kind of run down the women that we did highlight, some women that we may have missed, and some people who we feel like, are some history and history makers and trendsetters as Black women in media or in wrestling, and kind of talk about our journey as well as being Black women in media and how sometimes we kind of get, treated differently than our counterparts, but it is what it is. But you wouldn't have no culture without Blackness, so you wouldn't have nothing to bite off of. So hey, so so we're gonna start off with because I kind of want to do it like this, where on the first day of Black History Month, we highlighted the first 4 Black women wrestlers to change the landscape of Black women wrestlers that we see of today. So Bab Wingo, Ethel Johnson, Kathleen Wembley, and Marva Scott. These women here are literally the pioneers of Black women wrestlers being who they are today. If it wasn't for them doing some amazing things in the ring, and I felt like with me, I actually wrote this, so I had to make this #1 because without these 4, we couldn't have the list to follow automatically. And I know that they've had a documentary called, I think it's Lady Wrestler, that they have a documentary on talking about these women and more other women that was doing that generation at that time to talk about the things they dealt with. And knowing back at that time, I mean, of course, segregation and them being just colored girl or girl wrestler, they weren't even considered to be like superstars or anything of that nature. And literally being the star of these matches, like outshining the men on the card and everything. So I would like to get you guys' thoughts on if you're pretty much familiar about them, and kind of just share your thoughts and everything.
Before we do that, shout to Chris Bournet. He was the one who created the documentary Lady Wrestler. We did have him on the show at the beginning of the month. If you haven't seen the documentary, go and check it out. Go and support it. A lot of stories that we just didn't know about. So definitely shout out to Chris for putting that together. And there's so much more. So hopefully he gets the funding to even do a part 2, because there's so many stories that he couldn't include in it. And without knowing our history and knowing the past, we can't progress to the future. And, a lot of the women that we see today on television is because of a lot of these women that, they had to go into certain states where they weren't allowed to even sleep in the hotels. Like, there's so many stories for them that they still chose to do that. And then in that society, even being a wrestler and a Black female wrestler, like their neighbors didn't know what was going on. They were just going out there for the love of the sport, to make the money for the kids and stuff like that. So all the sacrifices that they made for us to even talk about wrestling today, for us to see our favorite wrestlers on television today, was because of those women. And then again, shout out to Chris, because I didn't even know. I knew a few of the women, but Chris really put that to light. So shout out to Chris for actually doing that and, having a documentation for us to look at, because there's so many stories, wrestling or not, that, are not being told, and we can't fully appreciate it or know why of the certain existence now. So just wanted to shout out Chris for that.
Anybody else, or TK just said it all for y'all?
I mean,
I will say this though. I do think it was very appropriate. You guys know I love to bring up the 4 horsewomen all the time, but this was a good 4. This was the original 4 horsewomen. And I thought when you brought the idea to everyone, I thought it was immaculate of the positioning. And we talk about this all the time, the timing. This article needed to be first. These women needed to be showcased first, because a lot of our history, especially in wrestling, is lost, or it's told by word of mouth, and we don't have we have so many different stories, and we don't get a clear conscience of what's happening. So documentaries like this and articles like this are so important to our culture, especially specifically to wrestling.
And I know from my perspective, a lot of these names I didn't hear about until like I was like in those weird moments when you're watching the Hall of Fame ceremony with WWE, and then they'll have like that extra Hall of Fame that's like reserved for a lot of older people that we wouldn't necessarily know. And I feel like that doesn't do a great service to them, in the sense that it's just like there's so much more and so much more vast history, too deep to dig into when it comes to them. And a lot of those women that was mentioned, as the first 4 for Black History Month were included in that. So I am glad that we as a website decided to write this article about them and actually put a shine on them, because they definitely do deserve it, because they are the pioneers who charted the path, for so many Black women that we see even now, and even in the more recent past. So I definitely am grateful for it starting with those 4.
I agree. So moving on. So that was on day 1. So you had to start it out with that. Day 2, this one, I definitely remember this story, and I was so happy that Nikki wanted to highlight this woman for Black History Month. The original Sweet Georgia Brown, Susie Mae McCoy. I know a lot of people may not be too familiar with her, but if you watch The Dark Side of the Ring, that'll pretty much kind of let you know a lot more about her. But I'll let Nikki kind of elaborate a little bit more, because she is the one who did highlight her for Black History Month on day 2.
I'm honored and privileged to really be able to cover the original, and I did that in the title for a reason, because I know Jacqueline, who we'll get to later, also used that name as well. However, there was someone who used it before, and that was her. And I thought her story is always overlapped by a lot of the things that we see on Dark Side of the Ring. We saw where there were accounts of very different stories that we were getting. And I think that for me, this was she went on my list first, only because of the importance of recognition. At this moment, it wasn't necessarily about representation. It was about the recognition of the artist, of someone who was kind of, and not to discredit the production of Dark Side of the Ring, but I do believe that story should not be included in just the Mae Young story. I think that she needs to have her own biop and story to break down, because she was such a force. She was at the top, and she put herself in such a pivotal moment when they would hide her from even going into arenas to wrestle. She really put herself and her life on the line. And I get really emotional thinking about her daughter having to tell the story, and some of the accounts, and just the social media erupted because there were so many people that did not know that story. So for this to be one of the articles that I worked on, I really was honored to be able to give it as much justice as I could, because like I said, there's not that much information, but that much is just needed for that recognition. So
I agree. Anyone else know about Miss Susan Mae McCoy and have any thoughts on like her story from the Dark Side of the Ring? If you did get a chance to see it.
No, I just think Nikki did an amazing job covering what needed to be covered, but also saying the things that needed to be said. Because while we are highlighting her for all that she's done, we would be remiss not to acknowledge everything that she went through. She went through a lot, and it's unfortunate, and the story hurts, and every time we hear it, we get angry all over again. But we have, like TK said, we have to know where we came from. And this was the reality. The reality was hiding in trunks of cars to get into arenas because she would have been escorted out. The reality is the things that she was called by the crowd while she was trying to work. The reality is even the fetishization of her. You know, when they would see her, these were the difficult realities that were so kind of eloquently covered by Nikki's article, because some of those things we still see today, unfortunately. And, you know, like, we cannot know how to fix it if we don't acknowledge that it was happening. And so I love that Nikki got to do this one and, you know, write the necessary things. It was so good. And, you know, just it can relight the fire of why it's important to continue to tell our stories. Because once they're lost, they're lost. So, you know, we have to continue speaking even when it's difficult about what's going on.
And you know, one thing I really do wish, and I don't know if they did it this year, because, you know, it's and not to crap on WWE, but it's just every couple of years or every year up to this year, I don't know if I saw it or not. It's been a long month, but they would highlight, you know, Martin Luther King, and they would go to, you know, Alabama, and they go, you know, they do the things that everybody talks about. But, you know, Martin Luther King didn't do wrestling, and there are plenty of Black folks in that era that was doing wrestling that they could highlight. And, you know, yes, we have to acknowledge what he's done, but everybody kind of goes to the I Have a Dream speech, and he was so much more than that. And then let's not talk about, nobody talks about Malcolm X, and he was also influential and had a huge impact in society today. So it's just like, I wish that promotions who do want to highlight Black people during Black History Month, you know, for the 2 seconds that they do, that they would use these stories and highlight the impact that they made, because, you know, everybody has those stories to tell. So I really wish, and now that we have a documentary, that would have been something that they could have, you know, took advantage of. So, let me know if they did the same standard. We went to okay.
They did.
No.
But what I will say is that they did do some stuff on. I mean, no. What I will say that NXT did a really, really good job on Twitter Spaces highlighting like the black wrestlers that they do have down there. So that's one thing
Yeah,
that I
saw
will say
that.
they did do. I know that Peacock for like the WWE side, they did have a thing for Black History Month where they kind of showed like everything that was dealing with like the black wrestlers from like all the way to the past up until now. And even they did some stuff on Instagram in regards to like posting like the black wrestlers and acknowledging for Black History Month. But yeah, of course, they did still show the I Have a Dream thing on TV. But as far as like social media wise, I feel like they did do a lot more on social media than they kind of did showcasing like on TV.
But I will say this though, something that they did do a little bit more of, even deeper within the month of February, even after they did the I Have a Dream stuff for Martin Luther King Day, they did they had where different wrestlers from the present and even in Hall of Fame like Booker T and Titus O'Neil, they were showing how they were actually getting involved with actual nonprofit organizations or schools that are actually feeding into black communities now, and they were actually showing more of that on all of their programming this month. So that is a little bit different. And I also that's a little bit different than what they have.
And they also shout to Titus because he's been in that realm for a long time, and with the school and everything, that he's very passionate about it. So shout out to Titus for doing that. And WWE has showcased him even outside of Black History Month. So again, it's not a shot to them in particular. It's just that when, especially, it's just so easy for the media to go to the safest thing, which is Martin Luther King.
It's very mundane. It's very mundane, and that's
so,
what Yeah, it did. It's not a knock to them. I think what it is sometimes we do get the same package during Monday Night Raw every year. But they also do that with other holidays. It's just you could take that moment and really showcase
and give it
the
to
black wrestling and give it to something else, because it always doesn't have to be, the same people.
But we know who WWE is. They're gonna do the safe route. They're not gonna.
Well, they did a little bit more than last year. So
yeah, but even still, TK, it was very safe. It was very PC. It was very what they're used to, and we are grateful for what they gave us. But we all know they ain't gonna do nothing too radical now. You're only gonna see so much now.
Well, yeah,
so.
I mean, bills need to be paid, and I think that's one thing that folks. We could want a lot of things. I'm sure we all do. We want to see certain wrestlers. We want to see certain storylines and stuff like that. But, the bottom line is we're not paying their bills. So, they're gonna do certain things that we're not necessarily gonna like. And until we can create our own promotion, or we have people that are behind the scenes making those decisions, or we have platforms like this where we can highlight a wrestler every single day, and we can have different panels, and we can do whatever we want to showcase that. It's like we continue watching, and we hope, and we support the people that we want to support.
I agree. And that's day 2. We move on to day 3, where of course, like Nikki said, there was another sweet Georgia Brown that just so happened to be, of course, Jacqueline, one of the most fearsome female wrestlers in history. I remember looking at Jacqueline as a kid and I was like, wow. But I hope my body looks like that when I get her age. It didn't turn out that way, but I'm happy with what I got. But she was a phenomenal wrestler. She's just so little, and she really was like, she was everything, honestly, to me. She was like the first powerhouse woman that I saw as a Black woman at that, who were in intergender matches with men, and being the only woman to win the cruiserweight title at that. So Katrina wrote this one, and she's not here to kind of share why she chose Jacqueline. But Jacqueline herself, Miss Texas, like that woman was everything. And to this day, like seeing her when she came back into the Royal Rumble, I was so happy to see her. because I mean she can still go as much as she can and everything, and she helped train a lot of wrestlers that we've seen today during that time. And you know, I remember we recently watched Tough Enough with her on there, and it was just like she was not playing with them at all whatsoever. She wasn't. But yeah, but I love Jacqueline. I'm like she is like she's definitely someone that you cannot go without highlighting with when it comes to just women's wrestlers in general, no matter what race they are. So yeah.
She's amazing. We have been trying to get her on the show for years. But as you can tell, she doesn't do too many interviews. So hopefully, like, she is on the bucket list for women's wrestling talk. But you know, if people don't want to talk, they won't. She's gonna come on, just not right now. Well, it's gonna happen. I'm putting it in the universe. But she just the grace.
I actually just met her niece at a wrestling show. Her niece is just now really getting into wrestling. She looks just like her aunt. It's so creepy. She didn't even really want to say anything because she's like, usually when I tell people, they like, you know, mark out on me and you know, they act really crazy. And we didn't. We kind of just had a conversation with her, and we exchanged social media. So fingers crossed that maybe we can get Niecy Poo to get Auntie to give us something. You know, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Jazz did. So shout out to Jazz. I know we're going to talk about her later today, but Jazz did put us together. But again, you know, now everybody wants to do interviews, and I get it, because sometimes when people ask me, I'm like, so wait, I have to put makeup on. So I get it. But shout outs, Jacqueline was just definitely a force, and just the grace after it, just so amazing. So love this article. Well done by Katrina.
Yeah, Jacqueline was everything, and I know we're going to get into Jazz soon. But I mean, of course, I mean this next woman here. I mean, this one was written by Mika, and I was so happy that she highlighted her so much because let me tell you something about Miss Sweet Sapphire. That woman was when I like not the one to play with. You better know it. And Miss Juanita Brown was not the one you needed to mess with at all whatsoever. So Mika, Sweet Sapphire, like what made you want to highlight her for Black History Month?
For me, it's important to remember not just the influence that we have in the ring, but the influence that we have, period. Mm-hmm. And there would be no you know who without her. The iconic polka dot sweatshirts, the whole everything, that was her. And it is important for people to remember that as these people are trying to take the saying, we control the narrative. We always have. And so her influence by itself made that particular person, we don't have to say his name because everybody knows who she was with. And, you know, this is Women's Wrestling Talk. So we're talking about her right now. But that particular person would not have been, I think he eventually would have got there, but without her and that storyline and that assistance, I don't think he would have been who he was. But even on top of that, the fact that she was the first Black woman in her state to become a licensed wrestling referee, the first and only at the time, that by itself, the fact that she didn't start wrestling till she was almost 40 years old, the fact that one of her most famous wrestling matches was against a literal bear. You cannot tell me that this woman does not deserve all of her flowers. She was the origination of the saying, "Don't help me, help the bear. The bear need help. I got this." She just was so amazing all the way to the end. And it really touched me that she still loved wrestling so much that even when she was, you know, going through her later years, losing her memory, you know, even still while she was working, she would tell the stories of the things that she experienced wrestling and how much she loved it. So for me, it was just really important that we did cover some people who we might not have ever got the pleasure to see them wrestle. Because I mean, we got to see her wrestle a couple of times during the whole, WrestleMania tag team thing or whatever, but not in the way that the people in her state got to see her wrestle a bear or wrestle in intergender matches or be a referee as a Black woman. And we already know that it's not, a lot of Black referees, period. That we don't see a lot of them. And so to know that she was the first licensed in her state, that's important. That's what we mean by history making. That's what we mean by trend setting. And we couldn't have a list without her. So I had to cover her.
I agree. Anybody else have any stories about Miss Sweet Sapphire?
Well, I know the first time I saw her, it's like one of those random moments where you be watching like wrestling tapes and old wrestling stuff, and then all of a sudden you see someone who looks like you or looks like they could be your auntie or something pop up on TV with you know who. And I was just like, oh man, like who is she? That's how I felt the first time I saw her. And I've always had a special place in my heart for her, from an endearing standpoint, because I mean, of course, I wasn't around to see, her with you know who because I wasn't born. But at the same time, I still respect everything, that she was able to do with you know who, because she was able to be, a manager. And then even hearing the story about her fighting a bear, you know how much courage that takes? Like that's like biblical courage. So I just think that's amazing. And I hope that, maybe later on, there's so much more that we could learn about her, and maybe they should acknowledge her more in the mainstream world, because those are stories that deserve to be told.
Right.
Yeah,
So
I
true.
definitely agree. I definitely agree on that. But yeah, we cannot forget that woman and everything that she has done, and the influence that she has. And another woman who definitely has had a lot of influence to me watching her. First time I saw her on screen, I was like, she the one. She the one. Jazz, the baddest woman to
She
ever
the one.
to ever step into a ring. Jazz, to this day, she is still killing the game, and I love the fact that and what I love so much about Jazz is that, and what I also hate is the fact that they try to paint her out as giving her some type of mad Black woman gimmick, stereotypical, something that should have never even transpired or happened. But when she won that women's title, I was so happy. So happy, but I hated how she was treated during that time in WWE. I felt like she was not a part of like the Divas era and anything like that, because she could actually wrestle. She could carry herself on the mic. She carried herself in the ring, and she had this stature that I think if I saw Jazz in person, I think I have to ask, can I speak to her before walking up on her? Because I think she might hit me, and I don't want to get hit. Like I don't want no problems. Yes. I don't want any problems whatsoever. Welcome, Katrina. You are right on time, girl, because we talking about somebody that you wrote. So tell us.
Hey, sorry, stuck in traffic.
Highlight Jazz for Black History Month.
Thank you, guys. I'm sorry for being late. I kind of got stuck in traffic coming from Manhattan. So, I mean, I don't know if New York. If you're in New York, you know sometimes traffic from the city to Queens is horrendous.
Yeah.
And so,
no thanks.
No.
It's horrendous.
At all.
But yeah, as far as Jazz, I kind of heard a little bit of what you were saying about her just being super badass on the track, and she really was like everything. We had Jackie, but then Jackie, we knew she kicked some ass too, but Jazz was also just so dominant, and they like introduced her being dominant. And so I was fortunate to meet her last year, and she was just so sweet and like just gave like the most, all the women that were in the locker room who was just like randomly talking to her. She was just so nice to you and gave such great advice. And she had a little like namaste moment when she was just relaxing before her match, but it was just, she's everything. And so when we decided that who was I going to cover, she was definitely somebody that was like, I have to make sure Jazz make it to this list of women to celebrate, because she's amazing. And like I said, she still got it. it's really sad now that she's retiring. But it has to end, I guess, for everybody at some time, and it's sad. But she still got it, and she still is just like ring rhetoric, just still kind of like, this is what we're gonna do. We don't need to plan it out too much. We're just gonna flow, and it works. So just absolutely amazing wrestler and overall person. And then again, she was really, really sweet when I got to meet her in person.
And Katrina, I think if I remember correctly from our meeting when the writers met, there were certain women that just were not even disputable. It was like when we came in there, we were like, there were certain women that were making this list regardless of what anybody feels. And I think if I remember correctly, some of the people that we already know that we'll get to, but Jazz was like top 5 on that list. Everybody was like, okay, so Jazz, all right, great, wonderful. Who else? It was like we could not have done this list without her. There's no way we could have done this list without her.
I would have knocked somebody off for Jazz to be on this list.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's gonna happen. Either way it go. But yeah, anybody else got some Jazz moments or anything like that they like?
Yeah, Jazz is absolutely amazing. She came on the show twice. And she came on the show the first time when like Women's Wrestling Talk, then Women's Wrestling Weekly, was like in its infancy, and it was out of a birthday tweet, and she followed us and she said thank you, and I was like, by the way, can you? And she's like, sure. And she cut the most amazing. This is when I fell in love with promo is different when you hear the person like saying it in front of you. I don't know if that really comes across, but it's like when you watch it on TV, they're talking to the TV. Right. But she cut this promo that gave me goosebumps to this day. And I definitely agree. I think Chad said the tweet, the post where Jazz is definitely unappreciated. And there are some issues that I believe is one of the reasons why she's not being showcased enough with certain promotions. But she is amazing. And then I believe Stephanie and I got to meet her at the NWA Empower. And I don't know if Emily had told her, because she meets a lot of people. So that's why when I meet people, I don't really, it's like, I'm just happy to meet you. And when she realized it was just so, it's like she became an auntie. I don't know that she's just an amazing individual. And like I said prior, she did put us in contact with Jacqueline, try to get Jacqueline on the show. She's just like forever giving and giving to the sport. And it's just, I really want a lot more people to give her flowers now while she's here versus, oh, well, she did this. Is like, nah, we were in the era where we could give her flowers, and we have been giving her flowers, but I feel like more companies need to. So just an amazing individual, and just before her time. Because I feel like if she was like maybe 10 years ago, she started, like it would have been a wrap. And then now, like,
definitely.
But she had to make those she had to blaze those trails for other individuals. So but I can't say enough about her. Like she doesn't have to do interviews. She doesn't have to, like, she could literally go off and not do anything with wrestling. But she's been an intricate part with so many promotions and training so many people that we don't even know about. So yeah, shout out to her.
Yeah. Nikki, I think you were saying something.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say shout out to her for coming back and doing the work with the Knockouts recently over the past year. And I also admire her I hate the way that she was portrayed as the angry Black woman in WWE. That really was a very odd moment where it put other superstars in the Diva era in weird positions. And that's one thing that I'm happy that she did more outside after WWE, because it makes you appreciate her more. And I'll end with this. I do believe that she is, if not this year, maybe, but next year and years to come, she's definitely getting a WWE Hall of Fame. I think. I think that people have such a, like, I don't think we're supposed to have faith in WWE. I think we just get what we give as fans. But I will say this. I think that there will come a moment where she will get that induction into the WWE Hall of Fame.
I hope so too.
Yeah, me too. I do have a jazz story. I was actually blessed not only to meet her with TK, but also to meet her um for her during her retirement tour, because she came down here to Alabama for the Belladonna Division's second show. And being able to meet her is so funny. Mika was talking about like you would be kind of scared like to run to like meet her, because at first, because she looks like she would thrust you if you say something wrong. And I and I was just like, oh my gosh, like I was so happy to even be in the same room with her, and even watching her wrestle in a tag team match with someone who is the future, in independent wrestling, like the Woad, and watching them two work together in a no DQ match and actually getting to call that action meant the world to me. And meeting her and asking her, what do you want me to say about you, on commentary, she was just like, look, just say what you want. And I was just like, are you serious? So just being able to say and throw all kinds of flowers on her and show all kinds of love on her on commentary is one of the greatest joys of my life. So I love her. She's great.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Jazz is definitely unappreciated but never not noticed. She's definitely a highlight. And shout out for following me, Jazz. I know I might be scared of you or whatever, but thank you for following me on Twitter. Our next person, I mean, when her husband became King of the Ring, I don't think anybody was more iconic than Queen Charmel.
Like, here. Okay. This is the definition of extra, baby. This is the level of extra that I aspire to be. Okay.
Listen, Queen Charmel, she definitely had the game on. I mean, starting out being what? With WCW, dancer and everything. She was fired from the jump. Then transitioned over to like, WWE with being, with Booker T, her husband, and the crazy antics that they've had with multiple people. Mine will always be, I love when they have their situations with the Boogeyman, because the Boogeyman is one of my faves. And I mean, everything about her was amazing, but not even just like the things she did, on screen, but the things she did behind the scenes as well. She does a lot of producing, a lot of creative things as well. And I mean, she fit the mold of when the time she came into WWE, or into the wrestling world in general. She is absolutely amazing. She still does amazing things to this day. And I know that Candace wrote this article actually, and she's not here to explain why she chose Queen Charmel, but I'm glad she did, because I mean, she was a highlight of my day, seeing her on SmackDown, just saying all hail King Booker, every week. And the dresses that she wore was everything. Hair was on point, the crown. She just fit. Like, I know we got Queen Zelina, but Queen Charmel, if there was a Queen of the Ring going around, she would have had it. Yeah. She really would have had it, for real.
I think I was a big WCW girl growing up. Like, big. I was bigger WCW, I think, than WWE for a long time. And I had two favorite Nitro girls, Paisley and Tigress. She, as a Nitro girl, the chocolate skin, killing it with the dances, wearing the outfits better than everybody else. Then we got to see her ringside. Like, she came into it iconic, if we're being honest. And I love that even still to this day, she's doing what she's always done best, which is planting her feet and making sure that people know she deserves to be here. One, she knows what she's talking about. Two, and that I'm going to help anybody that I can help. So to me, classic, iconic, deserves all of the flowers, accolades. Definitely, anything they want to give her, I'm all for it. Give it to her.
I definitely agree. Any other thoughts on Queen Charmel and everything that she has brought, entertainment she has brought to our screen.
Another person, I'm just going to start just putting it on the universe. Another person I would definitely want to have on Women's Wrestling Talk just because of the impact that she's made. But just doing so many amazing things gracefully after the ring as well. I mean, I think exactly what you guys were saying, like she's kind of set the bar for the next generation to even get to the point that we are. Because at that point, like valet was just like, that there's only so few women that were actually wrestling. So being a valet and just doing it to the level that she did, and then she's absolutely amazing. And I feel like, Booker T did a great job, but, seeing the diamond in her and knowing like, that partnership, you can't forget that. And they should highlight her more. Like, it's not just, Booker T did a lot, but she was there too.
She was. She definitely was.
I always thought she was just absolutely stunning. Like, if I can say anything else, she was just absolutely stunning. She was amazing to look at. If we were doing turnbuckle glam back then, she would own the glam looks. And I almost have to maybe put her in gear because of her ring work. And I don't think she really gets enough recognition for her look and her presentation. It was always something that was just so elegant. And she was a very strong heel. And I think that people tend to like forget how much of a role she really played behind the scenes with Booker as well. Not only on the camera with, the King Booker, which honestly, I think King Booker will forever go down as one of the greatest King of the Rings of our times because of her. So I think that just as credible as he is, I agree, TK. She should have just a little more recognition. And who's to say we may not, we may see her pop up in other promotions and stuff. But I love to see, I would love to see her glam looks like of today.
Oh, she still got it. She definitely still has it. Moving forward to someone where we kind of me and Candace, we were having this conversation about this next person, and I was like, yeah, she did a few things, but I don't know if it was iconic enough to highlight it. And so somebody had made a post on Twitter, and she tagged me, and it was like, this lady right here, Shaniqua, who a lot of people know her for being on Tough Enough and, being a part of the Bastion Brothers and the whole domination thing going on and whatnot. I don't think I really saw her in the ring that much, but more so, I guess, just like her presence of being there during that time and being the woman, I guess, like a dominatrix. She was kind of like, she went down, she got traded to SmackDown. She kind of just changed her entire look, I guess, to fit the aesthetic of what WWE was looking for at the time. But I mean, she didn't stay long. She did what was needed to be done. But other than that, she didn't stay long, and she kind of disappeared a little bit. I didn't see her go into any other promotions or anything of that nature. She kind of like just died off. And I think that's what a lot of the Tough Enough either winners or contestants, they kind of like, they were there, for certain things. And after that, it was like, you don't see them anymore. They're not doing anything else. So that's why I was kind of skeptical about highlighting her or having her be highlighted. But I mean, I guess if you're thinking about it back during that time and how everyone was like very much looking at her because she was tall, she had muscles, she had a start like a power that made you just like want to be drawn into her. But yeah, like that's kind of all I think of. I remember of Shaniqua is, and I really didn't like her name either because that's generic to name her Shaniqua. Like that's so like you couldn't think of anything else. Like this is what we know how they do with this. We already know. Like I don't need to get PTSD, but it's just I don't know. I feel like maybe if I saw her a little bit more in the ring, or maybe she was in a different era of women's wrestling, maybe it would kind of give me something to want to talk about, but I don't really have much to say. But I wish Candace was here because I feel like she could have said a lot more than me on Shaniqua. Unless you guys have any type of other things that I don't know about this woman that you like to share, or we can just kind of keep it moving.
I'll just say this: if she was here today, she would have definitely been an NXT Women's Champion. She would have dominated NXT.
Oh,
I think we lost again.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah. You're back.
Did you guys hear Raquel and Rhea?
What?
Did you guys hear what I said about her matching up with people?
No, I always said you said if she was here today, she would be like NXT Women's Champion.
Yeah, she would. I would love to see her spar with like a Raquel or Rhea or even like a Beth Phoenix. Of course, Charlotte Flair. But like honestly, like I think that highlighting her brings up a conversation of possibly what she could have been today if she would have maybe took her talent to a TNA at the time. Or even now, you know, with AEW and other promotions we're seeing, it would have been great too. And I don't know because I'm, like I said, I'm not as familiar with her either. But it would have been great to at least see her go somewhere else. I will say this as well: she's rememberable. She may not have done that much in WWE, but I remember her. Like, I think we recently just watched a match where she was the dominatrix. She was she was, you know, taking them in. And I was like, I do remember that. So she had a very profound character. I just don't think that they gave her the opportunity, or maybe even there wasn't an opportunity for her to get in the ring, or they just didn't see the talent. Because to me, there just seems to be a talent that was kind of like boxed in a sense, where she would have probably went to TNA and worked with some of those girls, like, you know, of that time. I would have loved it, to be honest.
Yeah, I know the moments where I actually saw her, like during the SmackDown Ruthless Aggression era. It was like, of course, when you're a kid and you're looking at stuff like this, you don't know what a dominatrix is. You don't know what any of that is. So seeing her come out with these dudes and control them, it was just kind of like, what is going on here? Like, and I never asked. So I was just like, okay, well, all right, she's out here with the Basham brothers, you know, she's out here in what you would think of as a manager or whatnot. But she was very dominant, and I just remember thinking about her, like her skin was always out and it was always like glistening and perfect. And I do wish she did get to fight more, but that was during that time where women weren't taken as seriously during the Ruthless Aggression era. It's like they would have like sporadic moments, but mostly they weren't taken as seriously in it. So, but I would have been more interested in seeing someone like her be more dominant in the ring. But for what she did, though, it was still pretty iconic because, you know, we are talking about it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I definitely agree. And another person who, I mean, is absolutely iconic. And, you know, I remember the first time I saw her, it was in WWE. At the time, she was named Karma. But when she moved over to TNA and so on and so forth, and she became an Awesome Kong, I mean, no one awesome than Kong. And I mean, Nikki wrote this article to highlight Awesome Kong. And I mean, I was so devastated because, like I said, the first time I saw her was in WWE. And I feel like during that time, she was not a lot of these women that we're probably highlighting were definitely in the wrong era of women's wrestling. Some of those women were actual wrestlers. They actually had character. They can hold themselves in any kind of way. But I feel like with Awesome Kong, well, at the time of Karma, I mean, the little storylines they gave her, they were okay. But I mean, she was everything. But when she moved over to like TNA, I mean, this is when you really got to see exactly who Awesome Kong was. So, Nikki, since you wrote this article to highlight Awesome Kong, I will let you have the floor so that you can tell us why you wanted to highlight Awesome Kong.
So, I don't know if TK knows this or not, but we did an article, or remember for that matter, we did an article where we dropped the news on her being inducted into the Impact Hall of Fame. We were one of the first publications to actually get that information because I was there when it was announced. And so we didn't even know at the time that they were going to be announcing it at Bound for Glory. We had already gotten word, and so we had already knew this. And so when I did the article on Awesome Kong and her recognition to the Impact Wrestling and the Knockouts Hall of Fame, I did probably more, I'm not going to say more research than I should have, but I did more. I was just like, okay, I want to know more. I want to dig more because I've been going to the Impact shows. I'm getting back into Impact now. She's being announced, people like Awesome Kong and Gail Kim and Mickie James return. So I need to really, if I'm going to be able to respect them and give them articles and give them pieces, I need to know the history. And so with this, I personally was super excited. I wanted to take, when I was picking my list, I kind of wanted to get then, now, and forever kind of thing. I know not to steal from WWE, but I wanted to get at least 2 women who were from the past and still present, and then 2 women that were present but still future. And so she was one of the people that I chose. And I honestly, Stephanie knows. And I go, honestly, Stephanie, I go back to that interview every single time I'm doing anything with Awesome Kong. There's something about that. There's something about she's giving you something that I don't know what it is. It was a very, it was actually one of the first pieces I even watched when I got on Women's Wrestling Talk, because I was going through some of the videos, and NWA at the time was filming. Well, they were doing the promotion
Power.
Yeah, for Empower and everything. And so I go back to that all the time because
it's still one of the highest viewed red carpet videos too.
I believe it, because the way you gave her graces was absolutely amazing. And so when I put her on my list, I was like, yeah, we're gonna have some fun with this, because we love to showcase the people that give us love. And that's one person that she always does. So I just wanted to give Stephanie a shout out too, because that video is really good content for articles. It really is.
Oh my God.
Shout out to you.
Thank you.
Shout out to
I appreciate you so much. All of you. And it's just beginning to meet her was one of the coolest things ever, because I just remember watching her. She was just so different from everyone else at that time. She was bigger, and she was carrying it with pride, and she was using herself as a weapon to destroy her opponents. And I thought that was so refreshing. And I hate that she never really got a chance to get that fully started in WWE. But when she was able to start it in Impact, you can tell it really had a great impact. No pun intended. I'm sorry. But but it's just seeing, her get her flowers, and even the stuff that she did outside that still had to do with wrestling but still advanced her career, when she was on Glow. Seeing her do stuff like that was always, empowering to me, because I would always wonder, what is she doing? Where is she at? And then when she was on Glow, I was like, yes, girl. Okay. And I was happy to see her. And so to meet her at NWA weekend, and then, I'm thankful to TK for pushing me out there to try that.
Yeah, because Stephanie didn't want
to. And it was my first time, TK. Gosh.
I know. I'd be throwing people out there, but I believed in you. If I thought you couldn't do it, then we'd be like, girl, you just hold the camera. So you did a really great job.
And I appreciate you. And it's just talking to her, she was giving so much light and joy, and I was just able to give that back to her, because I was just so happy to see her and to be a part of that moment, especially when she announced that she was retiring with Gail Kim, at the Empower event. That was very emotional for all of us, but it was a beautiful, conclusion to an epic career. So I am happy that me and her were able to have that moment. Plus, she's a good person to share a birthday with. So yeah, that's cool.
Awesome Card, she also came on the show. It took a minute, because just FYI, some of these wrestlers No shade to them, but they don't be answering DMs. They don't be answering text messages. They don't check their email. Like, it's a little hard to get to some of these wrestlers. So it took a minute to finally get a hold of her. But when she came into the studio, which was amazing. And just so many stories, so giving. Just super, what I find time and time again is just a lot of these particularly female wrestlers, they're just so giving with their time when they don't need to be, especially in somebody that's on her level. She's moved on. She was, had a little foot still in wrestling, but she was acting, she was doing the hard things, and she really didn't need to. And I just love the fact that herself and other women have decided to, come on and talk and give their stories. And my favorite moment is when she talks about her husband doing her hair like that. Like, I love moments like that. Like, yes, we can talk about her career. Yes, we can do all that stuff, but it's just the stories behind the stories that they decide to give us. So definitely shout out to her for sure.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Also, Khan, she's everything. I was so happy to see her come back into the Royal Rumble that time. I was like, yay! I was so happy. Happy, because I see a moment.
Oh, are we in and out?
Am I in and out?
Yeah,
Can
a little bit.
Hear me?
Uh-oh. Do we need to restart the internet? This is the internet today. And she's leading the show. Where are we at?
Am I good to go? Because I feel like I don't know what's going on, but Xfinity and I, we finna fight for real because they playing on my time. I just paid my bill. Why are you doing it?
Yeah.
No, not today. Okay.
Oh, well, you good now.
Now
you good now.
For the smell.
They be trying us on Fridays, man.
They do. Like, what?
The struggles.
I can't. Okay,
we
so
love you.
I don't love them. I'm gonna fight these folks for real. I'm gonna go down there. Okay, so since I'm back now for however long, I don't know. Next person we're gonna jump into is Sojourner Boat. This is another one that Candace wrote. I wasn't too familiar about her, but as far as like what Candace wrote and everything was the fact that she was, when she went back to OVO wrestling, she became the longest, she had the longest women's reigning there, 343 days. That I did know, but as far as like really diving into knowing who she was, I had no idea who she was, because I think at that time she was more so like in TNA. And at that time in 2003, I was a full-blown WWE girl, so I didn't know nothing about what's going on in TNA in 2003, because I was a kid at that time, so WWE is the only thing I saw, breathe, and sleep. So any other promotion, I didn't know about you until like I got a little bit older and started branching out to different promotions and learning about them. But I think by that time she was like far along gone when that happened. So yeah, unless you guys know a little bit something about Sojourner Boat and her significance of being highlighted during Black History Month, you're welcome to share. If not, we can move over to somebody who I love very, very much. My kids and their sister. Unless y'all don't have nothing to say. All right. We're going to move forward to one of my faves. One who I love so much. Foxy, Alicia Foxx. Let me tell you.
We love Alicia Foxx here, baby.
We do. I love her. I love like her character, her presence. Alicia Foxx was everything. She was extremely talented. I think she was the first Black woman to hold the Divas title. Maybe she was the first and only Black woman to hold the Divas title, I think.
Yep, she was the first and only to hold
it. She was the first and only. So I mean, like, this was during that time. I mean, of course, it seems like we only have maybe one or two Black women in eras and whatnot. And I mean, for Foxy, she was the highlight. Whatever gimmick you gave her, whatever you wanted her to do, she was going to show out. And that's exactly what she did. And I mean, she was not going to be knocked off this list. I'm sorry. She was not. she had to be here because she had a lot of significance. And seeing her come back at the Royal Rumble, I was like, dang girl, you got tatted. What you been doing? You must she got tatted. Like she's gotten, you can tell like her muscles and her arms are there versus how she was like when she first started seeing her and everything. I mean, I would want Foxy to come back and like actually get in the ring with some of the new girls here because I mean she still got it. Still look crazy, but she still got it, and I love her. I love it.
I just want to say this: I have a few of the women in WWE that I say are my sisters. Foxy's my sister, okay? And on top of that, let's put some respect on Foxy's name, okay? Because people, what they don't do is they don't talk about that ring ability.
No.
Okay? Because that's what really, like, Foxy in the ring was a beast. If we had Foxy in this moment, could you imagine Foxy, Sasha, Bianca, Naomi, Fatal 4-Way, WrestleMania, book it, the title? I don't want them on the same brand. I want black women to thrive. That's what, like, Alicia Foxx does not get enough credit for what she really brought to the Divas era. And anybody knows me. That's honestly one of my least favorite eras of all time. Honestly, I've recently went back to watch Total Divas, so I have a tad bit respect for people like the Bellas and people of that era. But Foxy, like, I don't think people really pay Foxy enough graces. In this house, we respect and we love and we cherish Foxy because the character
in this house.
Yes.
In this house. Foxy was a great character, and her ring abilities does not get enough credit for me.
Yeah,
right.
I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one, Nikki. I think I had the argument last year about the legends, like they were calling her a legend, and I'm like, so you're going to ignore how crisp her in ring, like her moves are always so crisp, always just, and then the selling, like I love that, everybody talks about how good Dolph Ziggler is at selling. She could make somebody look amazing just by selling that person's move. Even if the opponent wasn't as clean with the move transition, she always made the other person look good. So I usually have this argument every few months with some random person on Twitter about this Alicia Foxx, but like, we're not going to do that today because you guys like some of the other questionable choices some people like and go hard and ride for her, but then discredit Miss Fox. And so I definitely agree she doesn't get a lot of the credit that she deserves. And I loved her because she was a thinner Black woman. And for us thinner people who like don't get all the hits and the butt that you might want to have, you don't get. It was nice.
Wake it up, Katrina. Wake it up.
It's nice to see somebody kind of that way. They expect Black women to be like curvy and stuff, and I'm like, unfortunately, the curve gene just passed me. So it was nice to see another woman wrestler in here who was like, yes, this kill it. So I loved her, and like her segment, even that 24/7 segment she had was just, she was one of the best parts of that whole segment. Just definitely everything, and people really do need to respect her more. I feel like I definitely have this argument with some random person. Look, she's not a legend. I'm like, y'all can like kiss my ass, whatever. I'm gonna argue. She's definitely a legend. She deserves that. She deserved that legend status. She deserved the legend contract when she just pops back up when needed. I just think she doesn't get a lot of the respect. And then the fact that she was the only Black woman to have the Divas belt. And that's another era I personally don't really care for either, just because of how they did the women. And so I do have a lot of gripes with that era. So for her to even thrive through that is like a big bonus for me, that she was able to thrive in what they did to women's wrestling at that time.
Yep. In a sea full of blonde hair and blue eyes and paler skin, Foxy found a damn dolphin and rolled her way into fame. Let me tell you something. She's absolutely astonishing, honestly. And for me, a lot of Foxy's strength comes from the fact that she did face some things so publicly and was so heavily criticized for some of the things that she went through. And she comes back better every time. That, to me, cements you as someone who deserves your flowers. for you to go through your because they made it very public. WWE did not try to sweep under the rug like we have recently with some people that they don't want to talk about. You know, they didn't give her that courtesy when she was going through her battles with alcohol and other things. They didn't give her that courtesy. They openly talked about her, and I think that's why they diminish her legacy some, because so many people focus on the negative part of her. But when you go back and watch, you cannot deny everything that woman contributed to an era that honestly was more degrading for us than anything else. So I will always give Foxy her flowers for being strong enough as not only a woman but a Black woman to go through everything that she went through publicly and still turn around and be here, because she doesn't have to give WWE anything else, and she continues to give them her greatness. So
right,
I love her.
Plus,
I mean, I can't say anything else. That's y'all.
Yeah. Plus, on top of that, that's saying a lot for someone who started off as a side character in an Edge skit. Like, literally, for someone who started off doing just a skit for Edge, you know, in all of his scandalous storylines, like she took that ball and ran all the way with it regardless. So, and her Northern Light suplex is one of the best suplexes that's ever happened. So, there.
I have to agree. We at Women's Wrestling Talk, we definitely do adore Foxy. Hopefully in the universe we can get her on Women's Wrestling Talk somehow, some way. You know, we're gonna put it in the universe. We're putting everything in the universe. Everything's in the universe, spirit fingers. So we move on to this next woman that I was pretty skeptical about as well. Because I was trying to figure out what significance did she do that would make someone want to highlight her. Sam, one of our writers, fought very, very hard. He is our Divas expert, supposedly. And he was very much adamant about getting this woman on this list. And I was like, why we highlight Layla L? Why? Yes, we know that she won the Diva Search. She's the first Black woman to win the Diva Search in 2006. You all right, Nikki? You okay? You sure? So she was the first Black woman to win the Diva Search in 2006. And she went on to being a part of Extreme Expose down in ECW before kind of transitioned over to, main roster as far as like Raw or SmackDown. And I mean, she aligned herself with Michelle McCool and they became, flawless. They were the first two to actually have like the co-champion for women's go on, being co-women's champions, being co-divas champion. And then eventually she branched off to do her own thing as a singles competitor and ended up winning titles on her own before she ended up retiring in 2015 of July. So she was definitely during the Divas era. We actually went back, me, Nikki, and Mika actually had them to go back and watch the Diva Search with me because I was like, there was a lot of things that they did on there that was just like, it was it was just a lot of things happening. And I mean, like for Layla's season, I mean, they always had some dance off, but Layla being a dancer that she was, I mean, she had it. She did what she needed to do. So I mean, I really wish Sam was here in the comics to, elaborate a little bit more and tell you guys why he chose her to be on here more than me. But I mean, hey, she's here. We highlighted her on day 11, and that was that. And I think don't nobody too much care for Leo, but we love her a lot. I think in our head, I don't know.
Yeah, I just know that she was a pretty insane heel.
Yeah,
I remember when she was with Michelle McCool, it was always like, if I was a WWE superstar back then, I would have wanted to smoke with them all the time. Because it's just like all the slyway stuff they were saying about everybody else, and just they were like they basically represented the kind of girls that you would hate in high school who would try to bully you for being different. And I would just always want to fight them all the time. And I guess if if they were portraying that character in that way, then they were doing a good job. So yeah, her and Michelle McCool were, memorable in that way. And then she also had her moment at WrestleMania, I believe 27, the one that I went to, with Michelle McCool when they tagged and they had to fight against Trish Stratus and Snooki. So they had that moment. But really outside of that, I can't really say anything else. But her heel work was pretty good.
Yeah, I love her accent as well. Like sometimes I channel mine a little bit um on regular occasions, but I really adore her very, very much. Another person that I was extremely shocked to actually be on this list by the fact of how this young lady feels about her. um Ember Moon, we have highlighted Ember Moon, and despite how personal, some may feel about her, she is a phenomenal wrestler. She really, really is. She's a great seller. I mean, I don't know how anybody could sell getting kicked out of the Royal Rumble the way that Ember Moon did a twisted full learn to like layout outside the ring. Like she's a great seller, and of course, I mean, you know, Katie wrote about her, and I was excited to see what she had to say about Ember Moon. And I mean, Ember Moon, she was the first. She was the first one to win the NXT. Well, not the first. She was the first Black woman to win the NXT title. This is like before like Sasha Banks got there and everything. So, I mean, she's won a tag team title. Even though her main roster run was not the best, now that she's released from WWE, she's gone back to her, original name Athena, and she had a great match on Warrior Wrestling with Thunder Rosa. And I mean, what can we say about Ember Moon and her journey, within WWE and even in the Indies? You guys?
I mean, she's doing an amazing job. It's like a success rate for when somebody goes from NXT to the main roster. It's like a 20% success rate. It's like not a lot of people actually make it to the level that they were on NXT, and that's unfortunate because she was amazing in NXT, and then the main roster. I think we can all collectively say like, what are you doing with her? There's so many opportunities that they could have done with her that they didn't. However, what I do love seeing is that, I guess it's post WWE, the people who take their experience at WWE and then they do something amazing after, versus some people who, leave WWE and, they're just, they don't do anything. We're in the, we're really lucky enough to be in this industry, or in this society right now where we have social media, we have all these promotions, and we can make something of it. So kudos to her for like, all right, cool. You guys weren't doing anything with me anyway. I'm going to go back to my name and I'm going to do me. And I love seeing that.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
And I know something else that I do love was the fact that when Ronda Rousey made her return for the Royal Rumble and stuff like that, she gave Athena / Ember Moon credit for training her and helping her to, sort of get back into wrestling, I guess get back into wrestling training and wrestling shape. And I think that's something that, can be spoken well about, is that Athena does not mind utilizing, her wrestling abilities and teaching other people and helping other people, because she also has her own school. So I think that's amazing. But I always felt that on the main roster in WWE, she wasn't given that much of a chance to really shine. And then, of course, there were injuries that plagued her, over her time there as well. But just everything that she was able to do at around that time when she made that splash, it was amazing. And her Eclipse was one of the most devastating finishers I had ever seen. And I was actually lucky to see her live when NXT was doing touring shows and they came down here. I was just like, man, why? Come on, like she should be a star. But that's not to say that she won't ever be a star elsewhere. So she's got a great future ahead.
Undeniably one of my favorite NXT women's champions, honestly. I think she just took there was a time where the division, we really didn't know where they were going. And I remember watching Athena do her interviews, and I was thinking like, wow, it does seem like she has it. And she just did a match with Taya Valkyrie, and that match was, I mean, stellar. Like, and then she had another match recently at Warrior Wrestling with Thunder Rosa. Stellar. So it's really good to see her in the ring. I am hoping that we get Athena in the Impact Zone on Thursday nights, because she could really bring a little more spice. Could you imagine the Virtuosa versus Athena? Like that is just book it. I want her for Rebellion. But yeah, no, she's a great talent. I think she's a really great talent. But yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I mean, I know TK has to leave in a minute, but she can't leave because we're at one of her favorite people.
Oh, let's see who this is.
But you might go to sit here for a few minutes, because the next person, ladies and gentlemen, next person about to get into the Funkadactyl, the Glow, the Team Bad, the everything, the woman who we ride for here at Women's Wrestling Talk. I mean, she was gonna be on this list. I don't care where we put it at. She was gonna be on this list. And of course,
that was mandatory.
Naomi. I mean, let me tell you something. Naomi, we definitely do love you. Everybody can definitely share exactly how they feel about you and how you inspire them and whatnot. You are everything. From the moment I saw you on NXT Rookie with the bang, okay, Naomi with the bang was the beginning of something. I didn't like the hair, but you was getting somewhere. That was the first time I saw you. Athletic, was running through those obstacles like it was nothing. They could not touch her at all whatsoever. And I was so mad that she did not win, but she's winning now. Despite Cruella DeVille and whatever, and all her shenanigans. I'm glad that is over. I mean, Mika, you wrote this article about Naomi, so I'm gonna let you have the floor, because I know how much Naomi means to you, and the open letter you wrote for her and everything was perfect. So floor is yours.
Trinity it's crazy how, if I could aspire to carry myself like somebody, it would be Trinity. She is the epitome of never look like what you're going through. She is the epitome of, I'm going to put on a positive face and make all of this look good regardless of what you're throwing at me. She is the epitome of, you gonna get this black girl magic every time I step in the ring. This is why I love and respect her so much. I refuse to call her underrated, because she's not. We all know what's up. I would say under highlighted, because everybody, including WWE higher ups, including Vincent K himself, knows who and what Naomi has to offer. They're scared of the level of black girl magic that she could unleash if they let her. They're scared of the fans falling even more in love with the Glow than they already are. Why do you think they never dropped the Glow belt? How many of us on this panel would have bought a Glow belt if they dropped it? And it wouldn't.
Didn't they drop it today, Katrina?
Listen.
I saw that. Like, drop it today.
Somebody mentioned that belt.
What are y'all waiting on?
And then we just said that on the panel, top 5 panel, I was like, they completely should have had that belt. I would have bought it so quick. I was looking for her sneakers for the longest, and I could never find them in New York City for some reason, the light up sneakers that she had. So listen, I would have been with a matching pair of sneakers and that belt glowing. Y'all would have saw me unnecessarily with like random stories. Like, I'm about to go in the bathroom, but got my belt with me. I would have been so extra for no reason. So continue. I just had to say, because I was literally just complaining that they didn't get that belt for her.
Yeah, from the hair to the ring gear to the skin to the talent, the athleticism, the dance moves, the husband that she holds down and makes look even better than he does. Because I mean, she got the better one of the two. I mean, they both fine, but Jimmy is a little, he do a little different. He do something a little different. And Naomi, being the queen of that house, holds it down, represents herself and that family with grace, no matter what, unfortunately, her husband deals with. The social media, the TikTok, the puppy love, all of it. She just is the epitome of a wrestler who started in an era before now, but has been able to translate herself and to still be relatable and to still be someone that people look forward to, no matter how many white women they slap her with, no matter how many crazy storylines she has to do, no matter how many times she has to drop into the flow as a funkadactyl, she still reminds you every day when she wakes up that she deserves to be here. And for that, she will always have all of my love and adoration. I cried when she responded to the open letter. I cried when she responded to the article. We are lucky to have her, being honest. We are lucky to have her. And it was a like Nikki said, just an honor to even be able to write 2 articles about her. Like, dream. So I was just, over the moon, and I'm so glad that she was another undisputed person for the list.
Yeah, I think I might have had an issue if she wasn't on.
I know that was a universal agreement. We all was like Naomi would be on the list.
Yeah.
Universal.
Yeah, she's definitely amazing. Like I've said in previous panels, she's when I got back into wrestling, first it was because of Xavier, but then second, when I started watching it, I saw Naomi. I was like, oh, okay, there's somebody that looks like me and does amazing things. And then when I met her in person, her and Jimmy, it's just crazy. And then when I met her backstage and she brought me into the locker room and she was talking to me like we homies, I was like, okay, I'm in love now. You got a fan for life. So
TK, my would have left my body. I still would have been in the locker room. You still would have had to drag me.
I don't know if I told this story, if you guys know this story. So it was at SmackDown and I was with X-Pac and Naomi had already been on the show and I had DM'd her and I was like, oh, hey, I'm, at the show, but I went to a live show the night before in Ontario and I had gotten like front row tickets, but I didn't tell anybody that I was there. I was just there to enjoy the show. And so now the next night I'm at SmackDown and Jimmy comes up and he's like, were you at the show yesterday? I was like, yeah. He's like, why didn't you say anything? I was like, I didn't know. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Is like, I didn't know I was supposed to, but the fact that he saw me, he acknowledged me, him and his brother, it was just amazing. And then he called Naomi. Naomi just got on stage. She's like, oh, like this walk and talk. So I'm talking to her. And then we turn into the locker room and Asuka's there. And I'm just kind of like, okay, I act normal. It was an amazing feeling. And she didn't have to do that. And to this day, like, when you did the articles and stuff like that, I always felt when we had the shirts and I even let her know, like, hey, do you need us to pull up? Like, what's going on? And she always tells me she's good, but one day I'm going to be like, I'm going to have enough. But she doesn't have to do that. She didn't have to do that. And I'll forever be like grateful for those moments. Cause you don't have to be, you can say hi, you know what I'm saying? You could acknowledge the person and like, all right, I'm going to do me. But she didn't need to do that. And I'm forever grateful for that. She might not think it's big, but it's like she has a fan for life because of that. So that's I don't know if I had told that story. That's my like Naomi story. So that's one of the reasons why I like rock so hard for her. Because she stayed for 2 shows. She came to AfterBuzz. She was on the Fit Club show. Then she stayed for the Diva show. And then, she came on Women's Wrestling Talk twice when she didn't need to. So I would always, roll hard for her. So I don't know about any other publication, but here at Women's Wrestling Talk, yeah, Naomi, we ride for Naomi, period, point blank. So Thank you all for writing it. I need to take off. But first off, let me just shout out all the writers for, you know, putting this time, because it wasn't easy. Like, I'm tired. I didn't even write any of the articles. So it wasn't easy. Thank you guys for taking your time to do that. Thank you to Santana, because I sent Santana like WhatsApp, was like, let's do this. And she makes it happen.
Santana ain't the only one, but okay, I'm gonna let you finish. You'll do me. You do us like that on live.
These salt shakers gang kind of testy.
We do y'all publicly. I get the
shout out to the editor-in-chief Santana for taking the ideas that, you know, I envisioned, because I really wanted to do this last year and we just didn't have the manpower. Plus, like I've said many times, I can't write to save my life. For taking the idea and making it what it is. And shout out to you guys for hopping on this panel to wrap it up. And shout out to our senior writer, Nikki, because she be going hard in the paint. Anytime I put in any article ideas, she doing it. But yeah, just shout out. Shout out to all the writers for putting it together, and shout out to all my hosts for, you know, hopping on the panels, making stuff happen. It's just an amazing thing. So I need to take off, but I just want to give you guys your flowers, because without you guys, this version of Women's Wrestling Talk, this better, amazing, we're gonna take off version of Women's Wrestling Talk will not be here without you guys. So these two. So thank you guys so much for that. But I need to take off. I'll be watching still, so you know. But I'll leave it in the hands of the senior editor. But yeah, I'm out, y'all.
Well, we thank you before you leave as well, CEO. Yeah. Thank you for just gracing us. It's rare that we get your presence. Well, I get your presence on a panel, so I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Okay, I am grateful.
Thank you.
You should drop your bags in that locker room and say, well, I'm at home now. So
I mean, what do you
put me in the ring?
What do you do when that happens? It's one of those things where like she's having a conversation with Asuka, and like then we're having a conversation, and it's just kind of like I honestly forgot who else was in there. There was a gang of people in there. So yeah, and then like I saw John Cena walking down the hallway. It was a surreal experience. I remember the first time, because that wasn't my first time backstage. The first time backstage was Xavier brought me backstage on my very first wrestling show. And we're talking, and I'm seeing this is before like I was into it, but I'm seeing all these amazing athletes just walking around, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do with this. But yeah, we're highlighting women's wrestlers, but without Xavier, this whole thing wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for us staying in contact all those years. So shout out to him as well. Because of him, I started watching. Because of him, I started doing X-Pac show, and then here we are. So giving all those guys their flowers. But y'all have a wonderful night, and I'm still watching.
Oh,
bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, as we move on forward to this next woman who a lot of people definitely adore. No matter how many times she makes a return to the ring, it's always an amazing moment. She is a part of the four that Nikki loves to acknowledge a lot. She never bet against it. I always do. Stephanie with her, of course, the next one I'm about to introduce. I mean, it's the blueprint, the standard, the boss, the Mandalorian princess. Yeah.
No. I'm gonna need. I got you, because you got Bianca. I got you.
But here's the difference, though. The way I do Bianca and how you gonna do Sasha, it can't compare. But go ahead.
Oh Lord.
Just put a little more. Put a little more emphasis on that four. The blueprint, the standard, the boss, the Mandalorian queen, a 2-time tag team champion, your NXT women's champion, a former SmackDown women's champion, and a 5-time Raw women's champion, the first Black woman to hold the SmackDown Women's Championship and the Raw Women's Championship, none other than Sasha Banks. Okay, it's boss time, baby.
And she's the
honestly,
GOAT.
That was a great intro.
If out of all of my articles, what was the most important article? Being honest, it was Sasha Banks. We talk about representation. This was the first, and I jokingly call her my twin, but seriously, like when I saw her on the screen, there was finally, I felt like someone who was similar to my aesthetic, someone who was very comfortable in their aesthetic and their blackness, someone who was very vocal about their blackness and made sure to let everyone know she was the boss. And seeing Sasha gave me, and y'all know I talk about Charlotte all the time. I don't put anyone above her. But I'm just as much as a Sasha mark as I am Charlotte. There's something about Sasha that resonates with me. She is a star. She looks like a star. She's always been at the top no matter what. Even now, and we joke about this all the time, Sasha has 1 million returns. She returns all the time like The Undertaker. But true enough, the importance for me in this article was really to showcase how Sasha has really been driven in this company, being a part of the 4 Horsewomen, giving some of the greatest matches to some of the greatest women in WWE and NXT, giving some of the greatest feuds, being, just a part of the Hell in a Cell matches, being a part of so much. Sasha has really given us so much in so little time. And I know this may sound controversial, but I don't think that Bianca and Sasha could not resonate without Sasha and Bianca. You could not have put anyone else with Bianca, and you could not have put anyone with Sasha. There was something, and there's something that Sasha just has that I've always resonated with, being one of the greatest wrestlers, honestly, of an era that she was very prominent in, that she made it very clear, I am here to wrestle. I am not here to play around. I'm so blessed to have this character with the boss going back to the NXT days. She just was the epitome of really knowing who you were. I felt like Mercedes is not the same as Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks is this overdrawn character, but you believe it doesn't matter. And Katrina, you brought this up earlier with Alicia Foxx. The size. We don't normally see Black women of this petiteness. And that was something that Sasha wore very well. It didn't matter how small she was. That bark was crazy. And I'm going to pass it over because I could go all day. But Sasha, if you are listening, I want to thank you honestly for the representation, because we have very similar backgrounds in the way we grew up, the way that she views how she is as a person, especially the importance of being embedded in Black culture. And so I just want to personally thank Sasha Banks for everything, and forever the 4. I mean, come on now, let's just be honest.
Let me just hop really quick because I have to hop into a meeting. What Nikki said about definitely the aesthetic. It's very rare. I'm a very tiny woman as well, and so it's always nice to see. I always jokingly say, like, I'm tiny but pushed. I get a little crazy. I've become that crazy mom or crazy, like, that friend that will be like, so who we fighting? As I think like one time something happened with Stephanie, and I was like, so who do I need to? And she's like, I'm like, okay, as long as you know, I got you. Like, as long as you know, that's how you're my friend. I'm going to be that little person, like, super crazy. So I love that she's, like, super confident, and she backs it up being as small as she is. And her gear is always, like, A1. Like, that Sailor Moon gear, I was like, sis! oh, man, I wish she kind of just went all the Sailor Scouts just to do that at 1 week, just give us all the Sailor Scouts. She really killed it with that Sailor Moon gear, but she usually does with her gear in general. And just seeing her, like, she's everywhere now. And I'm so glad that other people outside of wrestling are seeing how talented she is. She's on red carpet. She's at movie premieres. She popped up at the Spider-Man premiere, like, Spider-Man all down. I'm like, thank you, Sasha. Like, let people know who you are. And so definitely somebody that should have been on the list. And I definitely feel like she's iconic. And she's one of the women that we would definitely be talking about way after she decides to hang up the boots. She's somebody. We're gonna be like praising. I am so sorry, guys. Like New York City. We will be praising her till the end of time. But I have to go into a meeting. I'm late. So thank you, ladies, for allowing me on and for allowing me to be late. It's been a crazy day. So kill it. I'm trying to pop back in when my meeting's over. If you guys are still going.
All right, bye, Katrina.
Bye.
Well, I do know in terms of Sasha Banks, like she's always been someone that I've enjoyed watching wrestle. Like her in ring work is like second to none. Cause it's just like when you see like the way that she adapts to every opponent that she is with in every match, that's why I always call her the GOAT. Cause it's just like she never wrestles the same opponent the same way. Like she's always going back to learn, more stuff because she loves the craft of wrestling. It's like even though she's really great, she never stops being a student of the game. And that's something that I always appreciate. Even though she has the charisma, she has the star power, she's a gorgeous, gorgeous girl. It's just her as a wrestler, it's like you can tell her passion and how much she loves the craft of it. And I could just name so many matches of hers that I just love. It's especially her and Sasha and Bianca, because there isn't anything more that I could say about that I haven't already said. And her and Bailey at NXT Takeover Brooklyn, like everything that she does, it's like she touches turns to gold. And I just can't wait to see more of what she has to offer, not only just in wrestling, but also outside of wrestling as well. She's a star and she deserves all of the credit due to her hard work and just due to who she is.
I definitely agree. I mean, Sasha, she is definitely iconic in her own way. Um, I can't give too much because everybody knows how I feel about them all. I look at them as all being the same to me, wise. But I will say that each one of them have their own individuality, and Sasha definitely does stand out amongst them with her colorful hair and her gear is always sickening. Her entrance is iconic itself. Whenever her music hits, I mean, everybody is happy. I do like the new sound of her, the remix of her intro. I do have it downloaded. It's cute. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to buy those rings though, but shout out to those who do.
I
But
have the rings.
like I said,
Anthony, you not alone. Our writer Sam has the rings as well. That's who she was throwing shade to.
I wasn't throwing shade to Sam. Not at this moment.
It's fun shade.
It's a little, little tea and crumpets. Um,
Y'all so
our,
silly.
our next person, we kind of switching gears and moving over to like AEW wise. Although this woman did start in WWE a little bit, has been a ring announcer and everything. We're gonna keep it real short and brief. I don't think there's as much to talk about. But Brandy Rose is another woman that was highlighted on Black History Month. During Black History Month, and Chris wrote this article on her as well, highlighting the importance of Brandy Rose and all the things that she has done within the company and so on and so forth. So definitely shout out to her and all the things that she has done. And why are y'all laughing? Okay. All right. So
question. Did Brandy Rose give the Black promo during Black History Month? I just want to know.
Girl, right. She did. And girl next. Right. With next.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever else we got next. Let's go. We done with that.
Well, like as we move forward, the next person that we have is someone on the.
Wait, we lost you.
Santana.
We lost you, Santana.
Santana, are you with us? I think she might
super
be
frozen right now. Goodness.
I think she's having some technical difficulties. No. I feel like she's about to pop in.
Me too. Everything's gonna drop off.
Well, I mean, we are here. Stephanie, do you have any thoughts on Brandy Rhodes?
Uh when it comes to Brandy Rhodes, I think it's pretty funny how she started like as just an announcer,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember seeing her and thinking she was just so pretty,
Mm-hmm.
and just the idea of what her and Cody have, accrued together as in AEW is still, a pretty valid thing. But now it's like they've sort of gone and done something else. So I don't know what the future is going to hold for her, but here's hoping she'll do better than what she has done. And that's all I'm going to say.
That's a good way to put it. And now we are joined back by our lead host for tonight, Santana.
I can tell you right now, me and Xfinity, we about to duke it out for real. Cause I'm about sick of them messing up what I got going on. Did we get to Amber Rodriguez?
We took a brief intermission on Brandy Rhodes.
Oh, y'all gave her that much?
Someone in the comments wanted to know why
Stephanie gave her that much.
It was only
I wanted to know why we were laughing at Brandy Rhodes.
Okay. Amber Rodriguez is the person who Mika decided to highlight for Black History Month. Mika, she kind of brought this to me because, of Amber being Black and Puerto Rican, right? Mm-hmm. So, a lot of times when it comes to Black History Month, it's always questioned if those who are of Afro-Latina or Afro-Latina X get highlighted through Black History Month, and I wanted it to be that. I mean, me being a fellow one as myself, like, you gonna highlight me. I'm Black at the end of the day, okay? Automatically. Exactly. So I feel like Amber, she's a newcomer. I mean, I've seen her on AEW Dark. She's I can never say that word, but y'all know what she do.
Mad esthetician.
She does everything with your skin and everything, get you all right while she being you up in the ring. So she do a 2-for-1 combo special for you.
She's a professional.
Professional is that. So she professionally cleans your skin and beats your behind too. So Mika, Amber Rodriguez, why did you choose to highlight her for Black History Month? You're on mute.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, it started saying my mic was like unplugged, and I'm like, what? The Mad Esthetician first of all, she's a doll. She's one of the sweetest people on the indie scene that I've ever met. So adorable to look at. But also outside of the Afro-Latina thing that you and I talked about, and I felt like it was important to highlight those of us that are, those of the people we have that are of two races. I am a person that hates beauty gimmicks. I hate beauty gimmicks on wrestlers, male or female, but this is one person who gets it right. She gets it right. It's so cute in the ring. She had a match this weekend and she actually had face paint where she drew as if she was doing a facelift on her own self on one side, like, how they do with the marker or whatever. That was like her face paint going into the match. And it was so cute. She is just somebody who's fresh. She's talented. She's excited about what she does. She's been on our show, so we can't not show her love. And even though she's related to somebody who doesn't have the most great history with WWE, her cousin is the artist formerly known as Velveteen Dream. She's still been able to get out there and kick butt and make a name for herself and not be tied down by anything. And so for that, I love her, and she had to be covered, man. I can't be the indie girl and not cover no indie girls, So
yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. Anyone else had any thoughts on Amber before we move on to the next person?
Well, I do. I love Amber Rodriguez because I actually met her because she was actually on my show, the Hardy Wrestling Podcast. And just being able to interview her and find out, what her motivations were when she was coming up with the Mad Esthetician character was very fascinating in the sense that it's a part of her. Like it's a true part of who she actually is. Like she's full on licensed. And it's just like with her being able to do that and it translating so well and it being so unique, like you can't help but to root for her. And then with her also being a member of the military and also being a mother and respecting her in that aspect, it's just there's just nothing I feel like that she can't do. And I've also was lucky to commentate for her for Belladonna as well. And she was just an awesome person to work with, and she gave me so much to utilize and to say about her. So she was just really nice, and she's very kind, and she's definitely the future.
Definitely. I agree on that. As we move forward to day 17, we highlight another indie girl, Holly Dead. Now, some of these girls on here on this list, I was not too familiar with, so I went in the writer's room and I was like, some of these girls I'm not familiar with. Tell me why we should highlight them. Candace wrote it. She said she gave me a reason as to why Holly Dead should be highlighted. Like I said, I'm not too much familiar with her or anything of that nature, but I do like her aesthetic. Though I live for the face painting is everything. So Mika, I'm gonna give this to you because you're the indie girl, so you gonna give us the rundown.
Let me tell you something about Holly Dead. Anybody that can come to a ring to Dipset, you gotta respect that woman. Her ring music is literally a album cut from a Dipset album, y'all. This is who Holly Dead is, right? She is actually came down here recently and took the title off of our women's champion at our local promotion. She's been Ring of Honor. She's been some of everywhere, I think, except for WWE. And she's so talented. She is scary in the ring. She is somebody to watch. If you have not watched her, go watch her. And I don't mean the face paint scary in the ring. I mean the ring ability. The girl can wrestle, okay? She gonna whoop your butt. She gonna talk crazy to you. And if she beats you, she gonna talk all the way up the ramp. She beat our champion, stood in front of the VIP section, handed us the belt and was like, it's mine. I guess I'll be back, huh? We was like, wait a minute. What's going on here? So Holly Dead has the utmost respect. We love her here, and we're just so glad to be able to cover her.
I love that. So our next person on day 18, you guys, we're almost there. Like we're almost done with this list of women that we have highlighted for Black History Month. If you haven't read those articles, you definitely need to make sure you go in and check those out too, so that you will know exactly who we highlighted. So next we have none other than Robin Reed. This was also written by Candace. I wasn't too familiar with Robin Reed, so once again, I had to ask her, like, what is it about her that makes you want to highlight her? And she told me, and I was like, well, you know what? All right. She's done a lot. I think she was either on the indies or more so like I think she did some things with probably like I think she was with Booker T's wrestling promotion. I think she was that. I'm unsure, but I believe she was with him with their company and everything. She was a former head creative talent at GCW as well. She actually ended up making her wrestling debut in 2014, where she worked at an organization called Title Wrestling Entertainment and Fighting Evolution Wrestling, Rise Wrestling, and Pro Wrestling 2.0, where she held the women's champion for 329 consecutive days. And she developed this persona as the Black Diamond at Reality Wrestling, and she became the Diamond Divas champion during that time as well, before she kind of dabbled into Wild Wrestling, and she became the disciplinarian for a brief moment. As of right now, she still works with the company GCW in Tampa, Florida. And she's still doing a lot of amazing things, helping girls down there build their character, find who they are, and working their way up to get into the wrestling world and be some amazing women on the mic. Because she definitely held her own on the mic. So let's see what else she can do. But I saw someone in the comments talk about we better highlight Kierra Hogan. Well, guess what? We're highlighting Kierra Hogan right now, to be exact. Okay, like this girl here, absolutely amazing. She definitely is an amazing person. She's done a lot of things in Impact, but it just kind of sucks that she doesn't really get that much with AEW since she kind of went over to him. But she's definitely killing it in NWA and whatever any promotion she's trying to dabble her way into. Kierra Hogan, she definitely makes the period stand out. Okay, it's definitely top tier. So Mika, you wrote about Kierra Hogan, so go ahead. The floor is yours.
Sorry, y'all. I am actually live tweeting Raw on Women's Wrestling Talk while we are on here. So I'm trying to do 17 things at one time. So please excuse me. But yes, Tim, I'm going to call you out in the comments. We did highlight Kierra, and it was my pleasure to do so. That is our friend Tim. Nikki and I had the pleasure of meeting him at Hard to Kill, along with Christine and Brandon, and 3 just really good people. So shout out to y'all. Shout out to joining us. But Kierra, she was just on the panel today that we had, and so sweet because she came in the car. She was on a road trip, and still made time to be on the panel today. That's just the kind of person she is. She is little, but baby, the saying that big things come in little packages was about her. That girl is a firecracker. She's so talented. She's had her hands some of everywhere. She's been all over the indie. She's been to Impact. She's been NWA. She's been on AEW. She's been to Terminus. She's been everywhere but WWE. And honestly, I don't feel like she needs to go there. They wouldn't utilize her the right way. They would try to change her aesthetic too much. And the iconic red and blue is what we love about her. We love that we get, our little firecracker to show up anytime she's ready. And so it was a joy to cover her, honestly. She's done a lot in a short period of time. A hometown Atlanta girl, and does not have a problem letting you know that's where she's from. And she's a light. She's really great. If you get the chance to follow her on Twitter, follow her on Twitter. Her, Tasha, Swole, all of them on Twitter are very interactive. They talk back. They go into spaces. You'll get some of anything from them. So yeah, we had to have some up and comers on the list, and she was one that we could not leave off. She's been everywhere.
So I stayed away from Kierra Hogan for a while because of her conflict with one of my faves. I won't name her, one of the greatest GOATs of all time. But when I did get a little more history on Kierra Hogan, I fell in love with her tag team with Fire and Flavor. I thought that they were honestly one of the greatest. They, to me, brought my attention to Impact. Like, watching them is what made me. Now, true enough, if it wasn't for the conflict that she was having with the other wrestler, I wouldn't even know who she was, to be honest. I paid attention more once I started to see her name circulate. I recently got to watch her match live on Dark when AEW stopped in Nashville. So that was great. I think she's a pleasure. She had a great match with Mickie James for the Impact Knockouts World Championship. She also had a phenomenal stands with Jordan Grace at Terminus recently. So I've definitely been watching Kierra very closely. And I like that she's not necessarily stuck to one promotion. I like that she's an NWA, and I like that she crosses over to AEW as well. And yeah, I think she has one thing that I like about Kierra Hogan is that she has a lot of room to grow, and that's what I like. Someone who is willing to get better on the mic, and someone who's willing to get better in the ring, and someone who is willing to grow. So I admire that a lot. I haven't been able to check her out like on a more personal level than I have her tag team partner, which we'll get to later. But I'm very intrigued by the presence. That's the one thing. I don't care what you do. If you have presence, I will pay attention. If you come to a promotion or a ring, and you have presence, and I'll give you an example, Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green. If you do that, I'm going to pay attention. And that's what Kierra has done, is given me a reason to watch. So I admire her for that.
I agree. Moving forward, we get into our next woman who I've actually I got pretty much introduced to her last year, or I think earlier this year. We watched the Ring of Honor pay-per-view. I think it was like the last pay-per-view they did. This is my first time seeing Willow Nightingale, and I was like, oh my God. First of all, she's gorgeous, but she can wrestle. She has a very unorthodox style about her that just kind of make me want to pay attention to her a lot more. But she is like absolutely talented. Like, you know, for her to be like a curvy girl who got a little bit more than others, she can definitely move herself in the ring like she's floating in the air or something like that. So yeah, it was definitely nice to have her be highlighted, and Katrina actually did highlight her for Women's Wrestling Talk for our Black History Month. Moving on to one lady who, I mean, you have no choice but to respect her when it comes to the wrestling world. And she was definitely someone that we were not going to leave off the list, because she definitely needs her flowers. She definitely needs to be highlighted. She definitely needs to be acknowledged and appreciated for the things that she actually deals with in her personal life, and how she's able to give off great matches inside of the ring. Big Swole, Mika recently did the panel, the top 5 moments of Big Swole last week, which was absolutely amazing. Katrina wrote this article, and it all fell out on the same day when Mika did her top 5. So I mean, we already know how you feel about Big Swole, Mika. You've had some various encounters with her, like on Twitter spaces and stuff, that we can kind of follow you in sometimes, because Mika be in the spaces and I'm like, what kind of world they got over here? I'm trying to figure out what they talking about. Because it's different from Clubhouse. So I'm trying to figure out what they got over here.
The Wild West over there.
Yes, so
I love her. I love Ariel. Just such a positive light. And it's crazy how she has to remain positive regardless of what's being done to her. Anyone that gets in that ring has my respect, but somebody to get in that ring with a chronic illness and still give what she gives, the respect is through the roof. How can you go out and fight a battle knowing that your body is fighting a battle while you're doing that? The mindset, and the perseverance to do that, still be a wife to one of our favorites, Mr. Cedric, to still be a mother, to still give the positive words that she gives on Twitter all the time. They joke and call her Pastor Swole on Twitter all the time, because she's always saying something encouraging, something wonderful to people, regardless of people tearing down her daughter, or tearing down her talent, or tearing down her Blackness, or discrediting the fact that she has a chronic illness. She just wrestled in a main event with Trisha Dora and killed it. This woman is unstoppable. And if you don't know about Big Swole, you are under a rock. Go Google her. Go watch a match. Go read her Twitter. Read an article. Listen to her on a podcast. do something because she is a gem that you don't get often in the wrestling world, and she deserves all of our respect, and I'm going to give her flowers every single time that I can. So Ariel, if you're listening, we love you. I love you. I respect you, and thank you for showing me what perseverance looks like every day. So love you, girl.
I know the first time I saw Big Swole, it was in the Mae Young Classic, the very first one. And I just remember feeling like she was just one of the most, of course, you know, you gravitate towards the wrestlers who look the most like you. And when I saw her and just saw how she performed there, like I was ready to root for her just immediately. And I was disappointed she didn't go as far, but it's still knowing that she was still out there, you know, wrestling. Even finding out more about her and finding out that, you know, she was a mother and fighting a chronic illness, like that's something that I'll always respect. But the one thing that she did that made me love her even more was was just as like early as last month when she was fighting for better and speaking out for better diversity in wrestling at the place where she formerly worked at, and she faced all kinds of ostracization, and it was just the worst thing to look at and the worst thing to witness somebody go through. Because sometimes what a lot of people don't tell you about standing up and speaking out on what you know believe in is that they don't tell you how hard it is, and they don't
Exactly.
tell you how sometimes, you know, you'll get ostracized for it or crucified for it. And even though she did get crucified for it, and there's somebody who runs said company who owes her an apology, it's just, you know, the way that she carried herself even throughout that is something that I will always admire her for, because she had the courage to stand up for little black girls and little black boys, especially like her daughter, for this wrestling company to say, to basically actually act out what it is that they were saying that they were going to put out, but never really put that much work behind. And that's something that I'll always respect her for. It's just her ability to speak out about the things that truly matter.
Absolutely. It looks like Xfinity got Santana again. So I'm sure she'll be right back after she does a little tussle with them real quick. Um but yeah, Ariel Swole, we love you, girl. And I don't know, should we stick here or should we go to the next one? What do y'all think?
We can wait on Santana just because she knows where we're going. I mean, with Big Swole, I'm very new to Big Swole myself. And I'm interesting to see, you know, learn more about her. And I think that it's important for these conversations to happen because we honestly need these these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry, y'all. I am being a woman of 7 jobs right now.
But it's okay though.
You know, try to do what I can do. Make sure Women's Wrestling Talk is well rounded as we love to be. Um, well, quick plug. Don't forget tonight you do have your Raw post show. Looks like Santana's going to be fighting to come back in right now, but Raw post show tonight. I'm tweeting currently, so check them out. Welcome back, EIC.
This. I'm about to go off. Honest. These people keep playing with my emotions, and I'm about to fight them. Um, but yeah, y'all think y'all were done talking about Big Swole, right?
We
Yes,
were
we
waiting on
are.
you.
Okay. We're gonna try to finish this off a little quickly. Cause good lord. Next up we have none other than the first woman to win the Ultimate X match at Hard to Kill. I mean, when you think of this woman, the Boricua badass, of course, Tasha Steeles, someone I'm sort of starting to get a little fond of. She just got everything, the swagger, everything. We constantly continue to include her in Turnbuckle Glam. And Nikki was the one to write this article about Tasha. So tell us why you chose Tasha Nikki to be highlighted for Black History Month.
So Tasha's my boo. Okay.
Mhm.
We met at an Impact show in Nashville. We hit it off. I told her, I got you. Okay. You about to do this singles thing. I got you. And we've connected ever since. She even helped me with some of the stuff that she wanted to be featured in the article, which was really nice getting to talk to her. We recently went to Hard to Kill. Me and Mika were actually there when she won. Santana was on my ass about this article, and I said, please give me an extension. I'm just trying to wait. I just want to see what happens after No Surrender. I want to see if she beat Mickie James. Tasha is really on the rise, and I think it's important for her, of all people, to be included, because I just feel like, and like Mika said, we're trying to do something in a way that allows everyone to be included. It's a way that we're able to have just a different light. We're able to see things, and people be able to move through different promotions and have this. I think for a long time, Tasha Steelz wasn't going to get the respect that she deserved as a singles competitor. Having someone like a Savannah Evans on her arm is great, but Tasha's been really improving in her mic skills. Her ring ability has gotten really good. You can get in the ring with someone like Mercedes Martinez. You can get in the ring with someone like Mickie James and a Jordan Grace and a Rosemary and all these phenomenal women in the Impact Division knockouts. I mean, I just thought it would be utterly appropriate, honestly. Like, I just felt like it, I just felt like Tasha needed her flowers. And if anybody was going to do it, I told her at the Impact show when I saw her in Nashville, I got you. And I've been witnessing a lot of her. I got to see, me and Mika, we got to see her and Chelsea Green go at it. So I love Tasha, and Tasha's been showing a lot of love to Women's Wrestling Talk. She follows my personal page along with our page on Twitter. And she's always hopping in, being petty steals with Mickie James when I'm live tweeting on Thursday nights. And I really appreciate that, because it gives us a lot of engagement. We get a lot of love from the Impactors. And honestly, yeah.
I guess that sums it up with Tasha Steelz and whatnot. I mean, I don't know what else is to say, but let's move on to this next person who we highlighted for Black History Month. Katie wrote this article. We highlighted none other than the queen of stirring it up, Red Velvet. Also one of my favorite cakes I like to eat. So Red Velvet, I mean,
cookies. Okay.
Me too.
yeah, very much cookies. I think a lot of people like Red Velvet. I think a lot of people. I never really heard anyone say, "Oh, I don't like Red Velvet." Cake. It's my cake, not the person. But yeah, I mean, Red Velvet. She's in AEW. She has a lot of growth. Honestly, I wouldn't say she's the best wrestler, but she has a certain look or a type of aesthetic that I do like about her. She's another small person. Her matches with Jade may have not been the best, but they have a lot of chemistry when it comes to when they're feuding with each other. So that's something that I will say that I do like about Red Velvet. Anybody else have to share what they care about for Red Velvet or anything?
I love her theme song.
Yeah, that's cute.
Like, I just think her theme song is a bop.
Yeah, it's definitely cute.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I guess somebody else care for Red Velvet, so thank you for you so much.
I mean, I don't. It's not that I don't care. I just think that she, out of everyone that we featured as far as it's new, she definitely has a lot more to that I want to see, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like there's nothing that I'm just like, oh, that Red Velvet. I like she's a great wrestler. She shows up, and I think she's definitely a part of the division. The division that's growing in AEW, but I think she's very stagnant. I mean, I want to see more. That's not her fault. I just think that there could be so much more. honestly. But I'm glad she's featured. She's definitely on the rise. We definitely support everyone that's Black, unless they're problematic and racist themselves. You know, so I like it. I think she could possibly. She reminds me. She's the Liv Morgan of AEW.
Well,
Nice gowns, beautiful gowns. That's it.
Well, speaking of someone who has beaten Liv Morgan on multiple occasions, y'all know why we here. Y'all know why we here. Y'all know why we are here.
Oh wait! Hold on, Santana. Wait, because you know.
Y'all know why we here.
Far.
I just have to.
Hey, I got that jacket. Hey.
I just have to say, and I don't think a lot of people understand that. When I tell you that this woman is the quickest, the roughest, the toughest, the fastest, the strongest, the best, you can't have WrestleMania without a little EST. Okay, first of all, I just want to say that I made it my personal bet that I was going to be the one to write about Bianca Belair. I would have fought anybody on a writers team to say any otherwise. I would have throw hands. You know, me and Mika, we was like here, trying to figure out what we was gonna do. Like, all right, Mika, you got Naomi, I got Bianca. That's how we draw the line. That's how we draw the line when it comes to Bianca and Naomi. we draw the line with that there. And I mean, with Bianca and her career starting out in 2016, like, and first appearing in WrestleMania, the women's battle royal that they had, and you know, being a part of the Mae Young Classic both years, and being in NXT, and you know, all of the way that she has worked her way up to the main roster. Although her Raw, you know, roster moment wasn't the best, but her moving down to SmackDown made it the greatest, because when she touched down in SmackDown, that was it. She was destined to be great. The moment I saw her, I was like, who is this girl? She has literally everything. Who you know can make their own gear every chance they get. And I'm so ready to see what she's gonna wear for WrestleMania.
And not just her own gears, Santana. Shout out to making the Street Profits gear as well.
Right.
Like I hope she make my gear one day. But I mean, with Bianca, she is something special. She is something that she is a person who is relatable. When you look at her, you see a strong Black woman who can carry somebody like Otis, can bench press whoever, whatever she wanted to do. She's a total sweetheart. She just everything. Like, just seeing Bianca on your screen just makes you feel happy. It makes you feel inspired. It makes you feel like she just, there's nothing negative that can be said about her. And I know there are a lot of people who try to jump down her throat and try to say she's mediocre or she's not the best and all this and that, but she's worked her way up. It's been proven. Y'all, from Bianca may like be starting out in a lot of people's eyes, but she's gonna go down in history as one of the greatest women's wrestlers of all time. Absolutely. She really is. She's so athletic, and she does a lot of things in the ring that make you feel like, dang, girl, you are absolutely amazing. And I always say, like, I had an opportunity to actually speak to her last year before her match at WrestleMania, and it was absolutely amazing. She said my hair like Beyonce, so I was like, I don't care what nobody else say, because Bianca said my hair like Beyonce, so I don't care what y'all gotta say. Y'all can't tell me nothing. Okay, y'all can't tell me nothing at all whatsoever.
Whoa.
But to have that moment, she was absolutely everything. Main eventing WrestleMania with Sasha Banks, winning her first title in WWE. You know, even though down in NXT, when she had her moments to be able to get the title off of either Shayna or Rhea, it wasn't her time. That's fine, because right now she's making the best of it. So I know I can go on and on about Bianca, but I'm gonna let y'all have it. So I'm gonna be quiet.
I just want to say real quick, y'all know me. I love the soul of a person. And she is a daughter who loves her parents unconditionally. As you can see, mama and daddy be right there anytime
Always.
something goes down. Dad was about to jump over the barricade at WrestleMania, baby. Dad was coming to the ring, okay? But what it is for me, and especially being a newlywed and a young wife, Bianca and Montez, or Bianca and Kenneth, rather, give something so fresh, because we see couples in WWE all the time, right? We have so many great couples in WWE. For this one to be so strong, so black, so unapologetic about each other. When she came to the back and fell to the ground, who picked her up off that ground? Her husband. When she won, who ran to the ring faster than she could get the title in her hand and put her up on his shoulders? I love how genuine not only she is, but their relationship is. And I love that they showcase it. I love that. She's a role model for young girls to see you can still live your dream and love your husband and be a family person and be all of these things at the same time, and it's okay. Everything that you want to do, you can do it all at the same time. Why? Because I'm doing it. You see me doing it. You know, it doesn't matter how many people want to say negative things like Santana said. When that ponytail hits the Titantron, all you hear is EST. And there's a reason. There's a reason that Hunter put that rocket on her back. Thank you, Paul Levesque. I am going to say it. Thank you, Paul. Because it was him that told Vincent K, I don't care what you do, she's getting pushed. And all he had to do was, bloop, she had it the rest of the way. She continues to amaze us. She's nowhere near oversaturated. She's nowhere near overpushed. She's nowhere near overrated. Half of y'all just don't know what real talent looks like. Well, here it is. Some of y'all faves could never.
No.
So, shout out to that girl. I said some, Nikki. I wasn't talking about you. I said some of y'all faves.
I was just looking around for the sum. I know it didn't have to do with me. I'm just looking for the sum.
Yeah, you know, some of these people, I ain't gonna call no names, but even some of y'all people who have been champions 500 plus days could never. So
speak on it.
I will just say the first time I saw Bianca at a live show in NXT, watching her go into the ring, like she shined. Like her skin was glowing. She had glitter on, you know, the kind of body glitter. And she was just shining in the lights. And I just remember just being just in awe of her. And I feel like I'll spend the rest of my life being in awe of her, because not even just the fact that she looks good, but just the fact that she is just so naturally athletically gifted, and she's unapologetic about it. It's like, even when you tell her, oh, you're not the greatest because of this, that, and the third, no, she's going to tell you all the reasons why she's the greatest, and why it's and how it's and show you how it's a mindset and not predicated on all the titles and all the medals that you win. She is successful, but she's the EST because she says she is. And that is something that is just one of the most beautiful things about her. It's just her confidence in herself. And even in the moments where her confidence wasn't exactly the greatest, she still picked herself up, and you saw her, and she shined regardless of that. And watching her rise, it's just been one of the greatest experiences of my own life. Like, she's just amazing. Watching her make history at WrestleMania was amazing. I said earlier, her and Sasha was the match of my life, and it is, because those two, when she won the Royal Rumble, I knew exactly who she was going to go for, because Black history is something that she values in her own family, and it's something that she even makes herself. So I'm just really happy to watch her rise and rise again, because she ain't through. She's not done. She's not done at all. So to watch it, a second time, it's just amazing. And I just love her so very much.
Yes, and definitely ready to see Bianca win at WrestleMania. I'm definitely here for it. So I'm gonna be prepared. I don't care, Nikki. I bet against them. They don't matter to me. Okay. Anyway,
No,
She
I
has
do
a
want
sort of
no.
shuttle.
Before we leave, though, I do want Bianca. I'm not root. I don't bet against the four. I do not. And when I say that, I mean as someone who has a love-hate relationship with WWE. I know how they book. I want Bianca to get her revenge, but there's still a possibility Becky could win. I want to see Bianca win, and I think that she deserves this moment. I want to see them open up WrestleMania. You've main evented already. Let's open up the show. Let's be the big banger. Let's kick us off night one. Yeah, Bianca has it. She's one of the few that's actually hung with the four. No tea, no shade to nobody else of them women. But she's actually hung with the four and ran through. And she said that very vocally, Santana. You know this. In interviews, she says she's going to run through them. And when she does, she's going to have to meet the final boss, Charlotte Flair. And that's going to be the feud that I want. Shout out to Bianca.
thank you for your time, Nikki. As we move forward to a next person that was highlighted, we're almost done, you guys. So I know we've been here for like a minute, but we're almost done. We only have 4 people left. But once I get to the next person, we're gonna have 3. My next person that we highlighted on the 25th was, excuse me, was that the person? Oh yeah, it was her, Brooke Valentine. She's fairly new to me. I don't really know that much about her, but I know she's an indie girl, and I know that she's like Thicky Steamboat. Thicky Steamboat. That's what she refers herself to. I'm not that familiar with her, but from the article that I read, that Katie wrote, because Katie is very, very like, she's into like the indies girls as well. So I, read about her and everything, and I mean, like she's definitely a representation in regards to like me being of a woman who is, got a lot going on back here and everything, and having the chance to be able to move my body the way that she does. Same thing how I feel about Willow Nightingale, and I mean, she's a total badass. She really is. Like this girl, she's like, she's definitely been killing it on the indies and definitely on Fight TV, as where she normally is on there. She's definitely a feisty heel. So I mean, she doesn't have that much that she's done, but she's definitely done enough, a little bit more to kind of highlight the new generation of Black women wrestlers who are coming in, and starting to build up a name and change the game for, and eventually be someone that people will be like, dang, I remember this girl, and when she started to where she is now. So this is where we get into like the new girls of the generation. Moving forward on to our next person that we highlight on the 26th. A lot of people are familiar with her. Tootie Lynn. She's another one of the indies girls who Katie wrote about her as well. Like I said, Katie was definitely on it with the indies girls. Full circle, like I know a lot of people like WWE wise, but for her, she's been on Fight TV. She has been on AEW Dark, the little blue dragon, as what she refers herself to, and she's a first degree black belt in martial arts. And I mean, she's done a lot of things in regards to like the work she's done like in the Midwest at Glory Pro Wrestling and Cape Breast Championship and IWA Mid South. So she's kind of a little getting to know in her name, and she was also a part of the NWA's Women's Invitational Cup, where she actually defeated Masha in the semifinals, but she ended up I think she either lost or she won, but she was in a match with Chelsea Green. Actually, Chelsea Green ended up winning that, but she did put up a fight in that match. So shout out to Tootie Lynn for being highlighted for Black History Month.
I have some stories about her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you mentioned the NWA tournament at Empower that she was at. I had the pleasure of interviewing her and meeting her because that took place in her hometown of St. Louis.
Yeah.
And after that, I was actually able to have her on my show too. And she is so amazing. And just watching the hometown reaction that she got when she came out in that tournament, like it was just one of the most surrealist experiences ever. Like, oh my God, it was so cool. And then seeing her and how she was able to adapt her fighting style to Chelsea Green's. And
Mm-hmm.
then like everybody kind of was just already on edge because the match itself was already good. But the fact that her and Chelsea came down to like the last two, the final two, it was just like
Mm-hmm.
everybody was rooting for her and
Yeah.
everything. And I wanted her to win so bad. But you know, Chelsea Green is gonna Chelsea Green and she won. But but Tootie Lynn earned her respect because she was able to, you know, to go to limits with her. And I was just so proud of her in that moment and just seeing everything that she has going on in the indies and sometimes popping up on AEW Dark every now and again. Like her future is so bright. And shout out to her mom too. Her mom is also really great as well. So she's so young, but and
Mm-hmm.
she also represents for a lot of people who are of a smaller stature. And I think that's really good too. So I love Tootie Lynn. I can't wait to see her prosper more.
Yeah, I think she's gonna go pretty far. She definitely is. And another person who has been going pretty far is someone who we highlighted on yesterday, Karen Bam Bam. I think honestly I discovered her on Twitter actually, through a mutual friend. I was like, who is this girl? Because like her ring gear is everything, and her wrestling ability is really good as well. And it's like I was like, I'm really intrigued about her and wanted to know more about her. And I know that here at Women's Wrestling Talk, we did interview her to get like learn a little bit more about her story and whatnot. And I mean, the hottest heavyweight, she debuted actually in February of 2018 in New York. She was at Johnny Ross and T2T Wrestling Academy that actually taught her. She's worked with, she's actually inspired by Bam Bam Bigelow and Bull Nakano, who are amongst the people who actually influenced her. And I mean, she's pretty much started, she kind of watched NXT. That's pretty much where she kind of got a little bit more so like what she was into wrestling, being inspired by all of the women there and actually studying it. And then she went over to have like the Test of Strength and the Victory Pro wrestling championships. But she's still growing. She's still pretty high and excited to hear on the indies, and she's still growing a lot in this business. So I mean, I'm pretty excited to see exactly where she goes and where she lands up at, because she's definitely like one of those powerhouse girls who's gonna definitely take over eventually.
The one thing that I really enjoyed the most about doing this with the other writers is that I've always been a WWE mark.
Mm-hmm.
And so now that I've been going to the Impact shows, I recently went to Ziggy Dice. I've been to AEW. It's going crazy. And it allows me to be in a position where I'm educated on women that I didn't know even existed. And I'm meeting women and connecting with them, especially our Black talent. Because when you connect with someone who is of a very similar culture, someone who's very similar in background, and understanding how hard it is as someone who's Black, as we are creators, as they are wrestlers, how hard it is to really come up and really, when you find that connection and when you're coming up and you have other people who are coming up too, and y'all just work together, it's crazy. Like it really helps. And for me, and I know we're getting to the last one, but for me, this was the best piece of the experience because I was able to be introduced to people that I didn't even know and appreciate them more and look out for them more, honestly.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree because, like I said, I already told you, some of these girls, I did not know who they were until, like, you know, some of the writers wrote about them and everything. It got me a little familiarized with them and stuff. And I wanted to include the indies girls because I knew, like, automatically we was going to have a lot of WE girls. We were. If we're talking about history, where it started, we was going to have that. But I wanted to include the indies girls because they are the future of women's wrestling. They're coming up. They're doing a lot of amazing things. So, you know, it's great. Speaking of someone who is the future or will become the future of women's wrestling, the last person that we highlighted on today, you guys, we're at the end. none other than your TBS champion, Jade Cargill. She, like, when the first time I saw her, I was there. I was like, who is this woman? Who is she? Like, her statue, her presence itself is there. The only thing she lacks is her in-ring ability and sometimes a little bit of her promos. But she's definitely been working and working and working a lot. I've seen a little bit of improvement in her in-ring skills. So she's definitely been doing some type of training somewhere. Even though I know she's working with Daniel Bryan. But
Who?
Jay Cargill.
She's working with who?
I'm sorry. What Brian Danielson, Daniel
Okay.
Bryan, the same people. They're the same people, okay?
You know that in this house they are not.
Well, I'm sorry, but I don't think you're in my house. So in my house, I'm gonna call whatever I want. DB, BD, whatever you want to be. Okay. Now she's been getting trained by him, which I really prefer to get trained by a woman anyway, because we know our bodies a lot more than men do, and we know how to maneuver the way that we should do. So what I will say is that she's definitely like there with the crowd. She's definitely someone that you stop and stare at. Honestly, truly, you really do. So I mean, it was nice to highlight someone of the new generation of the now, to be highlighted for Black History Month. So any thoughts on Jade Cargill before we get on out of here? Because I know we have our post show for Monday Night Raw coming up in a few hours.
Listen, I'm gonna say it now before we get to Jade. Baby, ain't none of the men getting covered tonight. They getting on out. Baby, I'm gonna already warn you. If you're coming tonight looking for some men's action, it ain't happening. Already released Monday Night Raw before we get into it. There was a tag match and there was another match. But as far as Jade goes, I'm gonna say this. I do believe that Jade has the potential of being where someone like a Bianca Belair, a Sasha Banks, a Britt Baker, she has the potential. She just needs to get. I saw that, mm-hmm. Stephanie. She just needs to get. She just needs to get. She has to get better in the ring, and that's all. If she would have went through NXT Performance Center, she would be a beast. If she would have the training that some of the girls like Deanna took from NXT, like Chelsea Green took from NXT, Britt Baker took from NXT. They learned, so sometimes we're not able to use our resources everywhere we learn them from, right? So what they did was they took their resources and built an empire. And that's exactly what Jade can do. She will always, and I said this in my story, no matter what happens in history, she will always be the first winner of that TBS title, but as a Black woman, she's the first winner. And that means something. And whether people, because we all saw the reports come out, Tony Khan was doing this to, push the Black narrative and make himself seem like he's using his Black talent. I don't care about that. It doesn't take away from the history of what they did by putting Jade as that first champion. It doesn't take away from her daughter watching her have that moment that meant so much to so many of us. So that's all. That's all Jade has to do is get better in the ring, and she will be. I rarely say this, but Jade is one person that, to me, is still a believable champion without mastering some of the things that you need to be a believable champion. I'm really hard sometimes on champions because I feel like that championship should just be a prop. And to be honest, in this moment, that title needs Jade. And I'm going to end with that.
I actually agree with that sentiment because I always feel like the person should make the title and the title should make the person. And honestly, Jade really does make that title because she is the first, and she is the first Black woman, to hold it. And there is a lot of history tied in with that. And it was a beautiful moment watching her win that title and in front of her daughter as well. And just seeing her succeed in that way too, in a area of wrestling that has a tendency to sometimes give off the impression that they wouldn't be as welcoming to Black women, she's still excelling regardless. And I appreciate that part of her career where she is still excelling regardless of what any haters, would have to say. And you're right. Like, she will be an even greater star once she does, become more polished in that ring. And I can't wait to see that. She's great. Like, she has all of the tools. I remember the first time I saw her, I felt like she looked like a gourmet chocolate bar because of all the muscles that she had. And it's like when you open in the Hershey's bar, that's just what you look like because she was just so defined. And it's just, she has all the great qualities. So I'm excited to see where she goes from here.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Mika, any thoughts on Jade Cargill before we get on out of here?
Sorry, y'all know I'm live tweeting. The women are out right now. We got a literal 6-women tag match right now happening. We got Dewdrop, Becky, and Nikki Ash versus Bianca, Liv, and Rhea, literally happening right now. So I'm trying to do everything. I know how I feel about Jade. I'm gonna give Jade her flowers all the time. She green as money, but better than your fave. How about that? She make that title look great. She gives Black women something to aspire to in that company, even though that company is janky toward Black women. And that's all I got. We love Jade here. So we hope to have her on a show one day, and hopefully that beautiful daughter of hers too, because she is adorable. Okay.
I want to say this too, because you brought up a good point at the end. I respect Jade for how she handled herself when everything was going on with Tony Khan. She made it about her. That's what I like. She didn't make it about the division. She didn't make it about Black women even. She made it about her, because in that moment, it was about her. And I know a lot of people, Jade got a lot of heat for her position and not talking up against Tony Khan in a sense. And I respect her for standing on her own because everyone's treatment is not the same. And I think what she said proved that. And she spoke for herself, and I respect her for that. And one thing before I leave, because I was very distracted with Raw when we were doing the Bianca, but I just want to thank Bianca for putting on not only for Tennessee, baby, y'all know what's going on, but for East Tennessee at that, baby. Bianca went to my rival high school. Shout out to Austin East, and shout out to the #1 high school from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Baby, that's where I'm from, baby. Brandon High School, baby. Brandon and Austin East used to get down, and Bianca knows exactly what I'm talking about, okay? Bianca's putting on for the volunteer state, for Tennessee, for everyone, and everyone knows this. I rep Tennessee. I've been here all my life. I'm born here. I'm a Tennessee State University current senior, and she is a graduate of UTK. And so getting that education as a Black student in Tennessee is very, it comes with a lot of journeys. And Bianca is one person that I admire for putting on for us. And I guarantee you, when Nashville, Tennessee hosts SummerSlam, Bianca's going to get a moment at that Nissan Stadium, because when these people find out that we got somebody finally in the women's division that's from our state, man, they better man, they finna have all the stars out. So I just wanted to say that.
I love that. That was so amazing. The whole I feel like we should send that to her as a clip. Like, send that to Bianca now.
The whole Tennessee. I am screaming. But y'all, that's it. Like, that's our Black History Month wrap up. I mean, we're almost 3 hours in here getting through these 28 days of Black women wrestlers. Everybody, Stephanie, starting with you, let everyone know where they can find you and follow you at.
Yeah, you can. I'm sorry, I'm having makeup issues with my eye. I'm sorry. You can follow me not having makeup issues on Instagram and Twitter at Queen Steph Hardy. Yeah, you can just check me out there and just see what we've got popping off.
All right, Mika, where can everyone find you?
Currently, you can find me tweeting on the Women's Wrestling Talk page at WWTalkPod on Twitter. You can find me everywhere at Meet the Mage, Twitter and Instagram. You tune into a Raw post show and you might find me on there. Because I am the manager of the most dominating tag team in Women's Wrestling Talk history, and we are now officially a faction. So we are the three. We are the three. And
come on, Stephanie. Come on, Stephanie. You got to join in now. Hold on now. We still a winning team now.
And I'm just happy to be here, man. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. I know I'm a new host. I'm a new face. And I've been all over you guys' YouTube the past couple of days. So I appreciate y'all for rocking with me, man. I really, really do. Thank you guys so much.
I just want to say that.
It's Chad with the 3 salt shakers for me. I'm screaming.
Santana don't even got to say my name. I want to say this because it is the last day of Black History Month. Protect Black women. Protect Black people. And protect Black wrestlers. It's very important that we do that. I want to end this by saying it was an honor and a privilege to talk and discuss about each and every last one of these women. And to say that we are in 2022 and we couldn't even cover all the Black women in wrestling. Hello? Can we wake that up? Can we say that Black women are the move of women's wrestling at this moment? Can we just grace that for a minute? You guys can always find me talking my good mess on my Twitter page. I always say it, if you don't like Charlotte Flair, don't come follow. I also have a really big article dropping this week. It has a singular title. It's a number, and you should know what it's about. I also have a really every show I get, I'm gonna hint towards it, but I have a huge article dropping on April the 5th that I've been working on, and I even cried last night working on it. I'm so passionate about this person. The title of the article can be released since we are in the last days of February. The title is coming from Women's Wrestling Talk, and it is called The Greatest Wrestler of Our Time. And it is honestly about to shake up the room. We're also about to shake up the room for Women's History Month. And I'm really excited about that. Before I turn it over to the other half of the most dominating tag team in Women's Wrestling Talk history, I want to thank everyone in the comments for being here. We've had so many shows. We've been doing so many things. Stephanie and Santana have been holding down on Rampage. And Santana has been helping, and Rampage and SmackDown. Santana has been my new co-host on Monday Night Raw. And it's honestly, to be here, it's a dream. And so I'm grateful to be on this panel with these women. And honestly, if you're not following Women's Wrestling Talk on all platforms, I really don't know what the hell you're doing. I don't care even if you don't like print articles, go read them. At least go read them or show them to someone who enjoys a good read. And that's all I got for you folks. I'm gonna turn it over to my partner to close us out so we can get up on out of here.
Yeah, because I'm a little sleepy now. I've been doing shit all morning. I'm ready to go night. So I can't go night because I got the Raw after show, but after that, I'm probably gonna go to sleep. But I do want to say I do appreciate all of the writers for actually doing exactly what you guys needed to do. You guys did an absolutely amazing job on these articles highlighting these women. We've been working on this since like December, going into January, finally assigning everything out and stuff like that. And I know like with Women's History Month, it was a little last minute, but I know you guys are going to do an amazing job with your articles. You guys have been killing it. And I'm so proud of you guys. So thankful for you guys, even though I may fuss sometimes because that's just what I do. Sometimes y'all fuss at me, but that's just what y'all ain't gonna do no more. But you guys can always follow me on, well, not follow me, but you can Google me, Driana Santana, and you'll pretty much find me. I can't give you my Instagram and my Twitter because it's not the same like everybody else. So I kind of just gotta let y'all say, look me up on Twitter or Instagram, you'll find me. And yeah, so make sure you guys come back for the Raw post show featuring the Salt Shakers, me and Nikki, of course. We're going to get into a lot of things that transpire. So yeah, until next time, thank you guys so much for watching. And yeah, see you guys back here for the Raw post show.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.